welcome back to the channel. You are listening to Ninja Night. This is Chatterbox number 29. Apologies I couldn't make last week, but I am here this week, and obviously I'm doing this on a different day, obviously because I'm unavailable tomorrow. So I said rather than go tomorrow without any stream at all for the last 2 weeks, I said, look, I'll do it on Thursday. And I'm kind of thinking to myself, I'm not sure whether to leave it as it is insofar as post this one today and maybe take it down until tomorrow night, until Friday night, and post it again, or whether to leave it up. So if you have any suggestions or anything like that in the chat, let me know. Which would you prefer? Would you prefer that it was left up here and then people can view it then themselves? Obviously on Friday night. Hello, if you're listening on a Friday night, by the way, depending on what I decide to do. Just had to change things up this week. But we back to resume schedule, I suppose, by next week. A lot of people were hitting me up last week and they were like, Ninja Night, you're obviously checking out the Late Show. Turbidy's last late show. And I said, are you for real? And a number of people were like, oh no, Ninja, we knew. We're only joking. But there was one or two that said, no, you were definitely watching it. And I said, not a chance. And some of them were even inferring that I was in attendance at the RTE studios. I wouldn't be anywhere near that place. Are you joking me? They wouldn't have me near that place anyway. Because first and foremost, obviously, they don't like what's going on here on social media. They don't like what's going on these different platforms, because when you can post receipts like we do over here, and I try to do as much as possible, obviously, when it comes to that, people and companies like those don't like that. So this week has been an interesting week, and obviously I've been posting up videos as well. And I know, again, some people in the chat might say, hey, Ninja Night, you've been a bit like, you've been a bit anti-Sinn Féin this week. Well, those comments are actually very minimal, because the large majority of comments that are coming in are absolutely on board with what's going on. Numerous comments, by the way, from people that said that they're former Sinn Féin supporters that said, no, that's it, now we're done. We're out. We're more interested in Ireland First. We're more interested in the Irish Freedom Party. We're more interested in the National Party. And I said, that's a good thing. So where things need to go from here, though, are these parties need to put their differences, if they have any, aside. They need to sit down and tactfully and come up with tactics, I would say, in certain areas to win seats, and to put the pressure as well too on election day. It's very important to have people there that are going to be at these election centres, and indeed it's going to be very important to have people there that are going to count votes. These are very important jobs, extremely important jobs. So that's where I would like to see this movement going towards, because I think now is more a time than ever where people are fed up with the status quo. They understand that the politicians that are out there, the ones that have been LARPing as Republicans, allegedly, speculatively, take a sip, over the last couple of years, have proved to be anything but. And, as I said in the video during the week, what Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil, Labour, the Greens, the Social Democrats, people before profit, what they are. It is a massive feeling from the people, especially from the comments that I'm seeing, a feeling of betrayal. Because when you have a party that promotes itself as a Republican, I suppose a Marxist party now at this stage, they're openly at it really now. But when they were supposed to be a Republican, nationalist, patriotic party, people were like, yeah, sure, like we're on board with that. Now you've got people out there that are chatting about, yeah, the borders are open here. Not if you're British, though. If you're anything else, though, come on in, calling people islamophobes, voting for hate speech laws here in this country. That's not a Republican, nationalist, patriotic party, in my view. Because should that not be a party then that's going to be focusing on free speech? It's ironic, isn't it? Ironic that you have a party that's out there now that want to do all that. Madness. So that's why I do videos like those. Videos like those I think are very funny as well. As I said earlier on during the week, I actually got a notification, funnily enough, there for this live. That's a first. It's because it's on a different day. Maybe that's what we might do in the future. I was saying that beforehand about doing guerrilla streams, you know what I mean? And because the Friday ones are obviously, there's obviously something going on there, I'd say, as well, to be fair. But like, the videos have done very well over the last week or so. So I really appreciate that. And I want to thank you, the people in the chat, the people that are watching. Anybody that's obviously liking, sharing, and subscribing as well. The subscriptions have gone up. Also, they have gone up now to 5,700. So last week I was on 5,600. and I'm very happy with that. So that's an excellent thing, and I'm very pleased, obviously, when things are going well, and that's to do with you, who's out there listening and who is sharing this information, because it's very important that information gets out there. We have a number of videos and a number of topics to cover tonight, so I'm going to try and get through it as fast as possible. Obviously, as well, I'll try and give as much of my opinion on these things as I usually do. But I'll jump into the chat first and say hello to the people, because that's super important as always. Jerome Reed is in here, number one, says sensitive super sticker. Thanks very much appreciated. Sean Max says Ninja Night, good evening. Triple H says I thought it was Friday. Change today. Busy tomorrow. Memory Warrior says 24 hours early to reconcile for all the times he was late in the other shows. We'll go with that one. Did you hear that one, Satirical Soldier? Did you hear that? That I'm 24 hours early. Just so we're reporting for duty here now on time. By the way, we had a fantastic Twitter Spaces during the week. You've got a guy that does be in here as well in the live stream, and he's on Twitter as well too, at Thoughts Toby, doing fantastic work over there, holding those and hosting those Twitter Spaces. I think he actually has one now at the moment as well. I did say to him, I think last night it was, that I wouldn't be on the Spaces tonight because I had planned to do a stream. So here I am, obviously. But a fantastic one that was had during the week. There was myself, there was Chopper, there was Satirical Soldier, there was Toby himself, and a number of other people as well in there that were listening and contributing, and it was fantastic. It was fantastic, the laugh that was had, and obviously as well, Gavin Pepper, that's in there as well too. Gavin Pepper is an interesting one. I was going to say it on the Space during the week, but Gavin Gavin made a couple of different comments, and Philip Dwyer actually was another one, by the way. How can I be absolutely so how can I be so mind foggy to not say Philip Dwyer? Anyway, Philip was there too. It was great to hear from him. And Gavin was in there, and I had said, I think on a stream about 2 or 3 weeks ago, when I was just like, don't worry about Gavin. Gavin's about 6 months behind everyone else, like, in so far as like where we are at the moment. And I suppose people might say the belligerence that people have now and the lack of tolerance. Gavin was on like in the kind of, well, now he's like, no, I'm there with just it's lovely. It's great to see that, and it's great to see people waking up faster now than ever. And there's a lot of people, and I think this is what the media and these politicians don't understand. You've got a lot of people now waking up faster due to like the social media, and then going back to sleep. Once you're unplugged from the matrix, you're out, and that's that. We've got Jerome reading here, says he said as soon as he finished putting up, what is that there? This chat's out there skipping on me. Putting on the rainbow button. Be chatting about that rainbow nonsense tonight here. Darcy says, who else is feeling the climate challenge called summer? Awesome, isn't it? It's nice to have a few days that are nice and warm. I haven't not seen any planes in the sky though over the last few days. Weird that, isn't it? How those planes play X's and O's, isn't it? And I don't know. These people are admitting this stuff in the media that they're doing these type of things, and people are like, oh no, that's just in your head. And I'm like, no, it's online. It's very easily searchable. It's very easily, I think, as well investigated. And some people are like, no, that's all in your head. And like, are you not seeing what I'm saying? You're not looking up there. Got some stuff as well too about Jamie Foxx we'll be talking about here tonight. Jamie Foxx is an interesting case. We'll see what happens there now. Some interesting stuff going on. We've got Manuel Godson's in here, says hello. We've got Rockets that sends too, says super sticker. Thanks very much appreciated. CST says Ninja, it's all rigged. Not that I disagree with you, but what happens is you get a situation as to what happened in America, which is people now have gone, oh, wow, this is really, really bad. And America's progress is going to be interesting to see where they go, because if they do it again in 2024, like, to me, it'll be interesting whether the Yanks stick to what they say, particularly when it comes to these type of things. You see, the thing is, though, for the Americans, and I will say this, they benefit from the fact that they're in different states. So those states pretty much govern themselves. And if it's a Republican stronghold, it's happy days. If it's not, well, it's Gotham City 2.0. And Dublin, unfortunately, and Ireland as a whole, is run basically by leftists. And it is going to become Dublin 2.0 for a lot of these places that are around there, because, when I'm talking about Dublin 2.0, by the way, I'm talking about your cities that are in, we will say, more rural counties. You're going to find that you're going to have cities that are going to be overrun with criminality. You're going to have people that are hanging around local tourist attractions and local areas that people like to frequent. So that means that you want won't want to go there, which then means that the tourism industry is effectively null and void. It also means then that if you have any sort of restaurants or any type of businesses in those areas, that those suffer because the place is so unkempt, and also you've got a specific type of individual hanging around. People won't want to go. Young families don't want to be going into the likes of O'Connell Street. They don't want to be going up the Keys or anything like that. Maybe the Grafton Street, but nowhere else other than that. Big shout out, by the way, to Billboard Chris. Fantastic work that he did over the last couple of weeks when he was standing outside and he was talking about children in particular and protecting children. And the video then that he subsequently recorded with his interaction with the Gardaí. Fascinating stuff. I'm sure there's going to be a video coming on that. And, it's great to see people interacting with police and just treating them as other people. Because for too long, I think now, and I would say an awful lot of people feel the very same way, you've thought of and spoke to people in certain positions in a certain way, and you've been expected to do that. I can't remember anyone before Philip Dwyer speaking to a politician the way he speaks to them. Now, I know what you're going to say, and I agree. Oh, yeah, people spoke to them like that at the door. They spoke to them when they seen them in the pub. Spoke to them out. Yeah, I know what you mean. I fully agree. But I'm talking about recording that interaction. And what that has done is it has made other people feel like, oh, we can do that too. We can speak to them like that. Like the videos that you see of Pat Kenny coming out. The video that you see of Desi Ellis coming out. That video of Desi Ellis there out in Sanctuary the other night was fascinating. Fascinating because the public weren't having it. They weren't having the spiel and the waffle that he was giving out there. So another video that came out as well was the one with Paul Donnelly. Remember that one? When a woman rang up his constituency and his office and was talking to him about the sniffles and everything like that. And he's like, and hung up on her. So people are getting to see what these individuals in these positions are like. And then in the same breath, you're also seeing then with some of the videos that are coming out of people recording security men and Gardaí that there's a very nasty operation going on here. You have to look at the Irish Inquiry, the video that they did today. Fantastic stuff. Shown on a site, people throwing Stephen Kerr out. And then the behaviour of these guys seem to have English regs as well too. Weird, that one. So we will keep talking about these things. It's very important to do so. And it's been a very eventful week. A lot of people talking about removing the government. Yeah, this government should have been dissolved as of now. And the fact of the matter is that that's because you have absolutely no opposition to be holding these people accountable, as is the current story. Renato Guevara is in here. I hope I said that correctly. Says subscribe, bro. Good to see you. Good to see you in here. We have also a brilliant comment there now from Sean Maxwell's Denise and Lisbon treaties were defeated as well, but were rerun and passed through. Always suspect that one because everybody I talked to at the time, I say to them, hey, did you vote for that? And they'd say, no. And all of the subsequent ones after that, I'd say, did you vote for that? And they go, no. And I'd say it's pretty weird, isn't it, how there was a big public push from the government and a very big marketing campaign when it came to these things, and now things suddenly got passed, isn't it? That's a weird one, isn't it? And I think people are starting to see it now. When you see the image that I have today that was put out there by Pennies, aka Primark, unreal stuff. CST says algorithms are fed into personal feeds that gently persuade people. It's very clever the manipulation to use and it works. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, if you click on certain videos, you're obviously going to be given those as suggestions. Obviously, recently we've got the likes of Fernando Murgis says and hung up on her cheek. Yeah, I agree with you there. What happened with the likes of say video games, right? If you click into the likes of a video game, like a trailer or anything like that, you'll be spammed with loads of material with relation to that video game. Or like even say, for example, which is dreadful stuff as well, you've got this new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie that's coming out by Seth Rogen, a guy that's labeling himself as a permanent teenager. What a weirdo. What a strange individual. And that's only because I have to use that type of language here on this platform, by the way. What a weird individual, a permanent teenager. And he's out there gloating and saying, me and my wife never going to have kids. Cool. I hope you don't. I'm glad that you've made that choice. And if more leftists make that choice, that's happy days. Now, that's not the type of choice that you're making. Instead, what you're doing is you're encouraging other people to do very negative things, which is something that we'll be looking at here tonight. The gloating going on out of people before profit at this moment in time is sickening. They're calling them what they got passed through. The second is it the second time it's been passed through the dawn now at this stage, is it? That's what they do. First pass, second pass, whatever it might be called. We'll chat about that now a little bit. But they're gloating about it. They're like, victory, victory, victory. And then these are the same people that are like, people that are outside Paul Murphy's house, it's very nasty. I don't think you have a concept as to what the real world is about. And I also don't think you have a concept as to what you are actually supporting. Do you know why you are supporting? You see, a lot of people live in a world, and I'm going to be straight with you here on this one. A lot of people live in a world where they're totally not in reality. And you know that, and I do too. Like, you've got people that are out there that obviously look at the likes of, say, for example, we're on the Gab, by the way, here. They look at their steaks, and then they look at where it comes from, and obviously see a video, and they're like, oh my God, I can't eat it again. You know, soft individuals. Now, if you were a person that's out there that's a vegan, best of luck to you. And if you're doing that for you, that's happy days. I'm sure you won't be able to resist yourself though and let people know that you are a vegan. You know, that's the usual criteria for being a vegan. But these people, some of them have seen this sort of stuff and they've gone the opposite. So they have actually flipped. They have said, oh no, like, I'm not going to go near the meat anymore. I would humbly request that this should happen. People think that this stuff that they're supporting, like the likes of the 8 and taking it away and all that, they think that this stuff is nonsense. They think it's, don't be worrying. You know, excuse me, they think it's nothing. They're like, I'll just take the cake out of the oven or any stage and just stick it in the bin. Makes no difference. Now, I'm sure if these people were baking a cake, I'm sorry to be using such a crude term, because it's something, as I said before, we'd be paraphrasing from the likes of Bill Burr. Bill Burr has a joke about this. Like, if you took one of their birthday cakes out of the oven nearly all the way through, or, you know, a couple of minutes into it, they'd be very upset about these things. And I think because these people haven't any visceral idea of what is actually happening, I think that that really doesn't make them think at all. So I do think that if they actually had an idea, that may halt the way they behave. On the other hand, if they do know what they are doing, well, that's a type of evil that I just absolutely cannot stand. And nor should you. Because that is a specific type of individual that is now pontificating to you, is grandstanding, is trying to be a moral compass. It's trying to tell you that their character and their virtue is more important and should be listened to more than yours. When in your gut and your soul, you know that is wrong. So this is why I have umbrage and take umbrage with a lot of these political parties, of course, and the ones that have celebrated it and are openly celebrating things like this. So we will talk about that this evening. Now, we'll jump into this one first of all. This is a humdinger, lads. This is going to be lit from here on out. I have a sneaky suspicion that Jamie Foxx is probably Republican. So this information is going to get out really quickly. Now, nothing's going to get people's eyes onto the prize more so than an A-list celebrity like this guy coming out and speaking and saying, look what's going on here. This guy's acting career is potentially over. So this is a guy that's in the prime, I would say, physique of his life. I know he's probably in this, I think he was in his 50s. The guy looks amazing. Now he got a bit of a hair transplant as well too. Let's not forget that, because everyone knows that what went on there. But this guy was in attendance, so it's undeniable to say what he took. He was in attendance in New York. In New York, you had to have this to perform. He was performing in the theater, as far as I know, if I can remember correctly. Of course, open to correction on that one. But was in New York, in an area that did require this. And he's not going to be the last celebrity that this happens to. Look at what happened to Justin Bieber. Look what happened to Justin Bieber's wife. Look what happened to Ray Liotta. Look what happened to Ray Stevenson only last week. Like, Ray Stevenson was 58 years of age. Fell asleep, didn't wake up. Ray Liotta, same story. There's no chatter about the two of them. They're forgotten as quickly as anything else. The statement that came out from Lucasfilm, because Ray Stevenson is in a new Star Wars project in Ahsoka, it was a PR spinner of a statement. We're very sad to lose Ray, and Ray has been an integral part of this series. I'm sure we'll keep his memory glowing with our lightsabers. And you're looking at it, you're like, oh my God, that is as disingenuous as it comes. But maybe it's also showing you some fear from some of these people that are typing it out there, like, this is becoming a bit too frequent and a bit too noticeable at this stage. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And do you know how it's becoming more noticeable to now? It's becoming more noticeable to normies. Normies are hearing about all sorts of problems as well too. They're hearing about chest pains that people have now since developed. They're hearing about breathing difficulties that people have now since developed. I know a couple of people that have developed asthma. They're like, I've never suffered this before in my life, and now I do. Then you've other people that have immune deficiencies now. They're saying, I can't, I find it difficult to fight off a cold, is what these people are saying. And then you've got the other things that are happening, which are suddenlies. Of course, as well, you've got the big C as well, too. You've got cancer in the mix as well. No repercussions for anybody that has decided to stop any of the screenings or anything like that, like for the last couple of years, which I think is absolutely mind-boggling, isn't it? We've got 100 odd people here now in the chat on the Thursday night. Thanks very much to everyone. But these are the type of things that are going on. And Jamie Foxx now here, this is coming from OK Magazine. So this is actually a pretty legit source from what I can say, because I've had a look at a couple of different articles, and these type of articles and headlines are starting to become a bit more frequent. Now, is this fella going to blame Democrat-run New York? I hope so. I hope so. Is he going to blame your man that was promoting this stuff? Yeah, because we all know now that all of them are on the same page. You know, they keep coming out every 2 weeks. We're gonna arrest the Don, and everyone's like, yeah, right, okay, yeah, sure, yeah, 100%. It's like here in Ireland as well too. People are like, well, we should be calling for ministers to resign. No, you shouldn't. What you should be doing is you should be calling for their arrest. I mean, have you seen what's been facilitated into this country, Roderick O'Gorman? You know, have you seen what's been facilitated in this country and what's going on? Simon Harris, Helen McEntee, Heather Humphreys. These are all people that should be arrested for what they're at. And then you've got the people that are in the higher up standing the likes of what is supposed to be the uniforms. These are allowing this sort of stuff. And then at the same time, these little wet wipes. I really struggle to use the word wet wipe, because wet wipes are useful. You know, these people are about as useful as a chocolate teapot in reality. The reason why there's a problem with this inward migration is because of the far right. Excuse me? Are you having me on? You're not living on the same plane of existence, mate. So let's have a look at this here. Health shocker. Jamie Foxx left paralysed and blind. Now, I said this to the old boy. That's another one. Take a sip on that one. Derek McManus keeps saying that. Keeps saying anytime allegedly, spectively is said, and he talks about the old boy, sip, sip, sip away. But there has been no video or no images of Jamie Foxx for a month. Like, these people couldn't wait to get imagery out of your man Damar Hamlin. Couldn't wait. Look at your man as well too in America. There's actually been very quiet talk going on around him now. That Fetterman character. Have a look into that. They pictured some different dude. A completely new head this fella had. And they were like, oh, he went to the hospital, had a bit of an issue. Oh, I wonder why. And then this other guy came out and you're like, is that the stunt double? Is that the stunt double? Because I'm telling you what now, lads, people were messing beforehand, and insofar as, like, there's a lot of people talking online now about clowning. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm like, with every time that these articles come out with a medical advance that's not been made to the public, and I'll show you another one here now tonight, I'm like, okay, maybe there's some merit to what that person is saying, because it's weird. It's weird. It's a weird and a very strange world that we live in. You know, you just have to think about the likes of what happened to Michael Jackson. You know, people look at that and I'm like, what went on there? Like, how did that dude turn from being like Joe Jackson and the rest of the Jackson 5 and then ends up then looking like he does and the color that he does? Like, that is strange. It's strange. And people be like, well, he had a special skin condition. It developed very late, didn't it? Isn't that weird? Is that not weird to you? So a lot of people are looking back at these things now and they're going, that's strange. Anyway, going on this, Jamie Foxx, great shape, shaping up to be Spawn in the next Spawn movie that was coming from Todd McFarlane. It's gestated that long now that obviously Jamie Foxx won't be fit to play the role, which is obviously very sad. But I do hope that he's going to come out and say these things that we all know to be true. Because this is coming from a source, by the way, close to him. So this source is apparently very close, and if I'm not mistaken from this article, a family member. So like I said here, April 11th. So that's closing. Listen, that's over a month now. So I was incorrect on that there. That's over a month now that this dude hasn't been seen. There's been no imagery of him. There's been no videos of him or anything like that. and now he has a blood clot in the brain, paralyzed and blind. Yikes. That is a very unceremonious way of saying acting career done, over. And this guy is an A-lister. Like, that's what I just want to keep getting at. You've got Ray Liotta, who is in one of the biggest movies of all time, obviously in Goodfellas, and has been in a number of parts. It was a fan favourite of mine to be cast as the Joker in one of the movies. I think he would have absolutely nailed it. I think he would have been a perfect Joker. But anyway, has been a legend of that scene. And basically, they just went away and said, yeah, Ray Liotta's not here. Bob Saget, same story. Gilbert Gottfried, same story. Shane Warne, same story. That's a couple of quinky dinks there now that seem to be lining up with what we've been saying. So why do I keep harping on about these things? The reason why I keep harping on about things like this is because this stuff is still in play, by the way. Like, when I think about the last couple of years, and I always say to people in the rounds, I decide, like, comic book movies are very interesting. Sometimes I think it's preceding you with ideas, and I'm sure movies aren't entertainment. It's pretty much is. They've all but admitted that in the last while as well, especially from these lefties. Like I said earlier on, Seth Rogen, they've all but admitted that this stuff is being used to make you think a certain way. So when you see, for example, movies that are out there that are like, yeah, don't be worrying about anything like that, that's totally going on. Then when it happens in reality, like, the Terminator is a very real prospect now. People are like, oh, the AI is starting to take over. Yeah, that's not a good thing. I know we've been down this road before, haven't we, with the Skynet stuff? So yeah, it's not good at all. But why do we keep harping on about this sort of stuff? This stuff has been harped on because people need to be held accountable for what they've done. And going back on entertainment, what I was saying there was, when I saw Infinity War and Endgame, now Endgame was a sloppy mess. Avengers I'm talking about. I know I'm linking in a little bit of entertainment, but what happens is, there's a new little emoji thing there now on YouTube with little hearts and all that. So I appreciate that people clicking that. Thanks very much. So Avengers Endgame starts off with, hey guys, it's after been 5 years and people are just out of existence now and they're back now. And we're just not going to talk about what Thanos did or anything else that went on. And it was just jarring. I was like, there's no way that life just resumes to the way it does and people don't talk about it. Now, the MCU is trying to catch up now and they're like, there's a couple of problems. But like, I was like, there's no way people just look at 5 years of life being wiped away and think nothing of it. And then you see the last two and you're like, right, okay. Some people don't want to know. And some people now that believed in this stuff wholeheartedly, were all in on it, are now agreeing with you how silly and stupid it was. It's very fascinating to look at. And with this person that you're speaking to, by the way, and these people that you speak to, that the next thing comes along that they'll be codded for that. Now, I'd say it is important that you give them the information now as things are, and you'll see little awakenings there. You might not see it on this stuff here, by the way, but you're starting to see it, I think, in grown numbers when it comes to this migrant stuff into Ireland, particularly as a lot of people are calling it here in Ireland, they're calling it an invasion, plantation 2.0. So we'll get into a little bit of that there. This is what I'm talking about here. Now, it's something that had been said to me previously, and I agree with it in terms of I'm not looking, and again, I just want to preface this by saying I don't want to know any of the people in this video that are in uniform. I've no interest in who they are or whatever like that. But what I will say is, if this person that you see in the video happens to be a colleague of yours, or happens to be someone that's related to you, or is a friend of yours, what do you think about this? Do you think that this behavior is acceptable? Do you think that the behavior of the Gardaí is acceptable here when it comes to this? Now, during the week, I put out a Twitter poll, and it gathered in and around 800 votes. And the Twitter poll was simple. I said, do you think that the Gardaí have turned their back on the Irish people? And over 94% voted yes. 800 votes. That's not good. That's not good viewing. And then you see videos like this. This is coming from Turnipin in Santry. And what has happened in Santry has been a very big eye-opener for people, because let me tell you something about Santry. From what I've gathered in the information on it, Santry is predominantly in this area that they are trying to put these guys, predominantly more older residents. It is a settled area. It is generally people that have worked hard all their lives and have accumulated their homes. There are people there that are obviously very well to do. So this is starting to affect these people. And there's one woman in particular that has become very prominent due to the fact that she has now gone on record a couple of times talking about her husband, who was an ex-detective. And he goes on his walks in and around this area, and she said no, he's had a heart problem, so he can't go around this area anymore. And she's upset about that, and rightfully so, because they're moving people into this area that do not comply with our morals, our traditions, our principles, our values. And as Satirical Soldier says all of the time, you have fellas in this area, 300 of them will just say, allegedly, from what's allegedly been the number banded about out there, going into this place. He's like, recipe for disaster. And I agree. So when you see people that are in uniform facilitating this, a lot of the problem with a lot of these things, and I agree, people would say, well, how would you reform the police? Well, I think the police need to be made up of people from the area. Because I think this sort of stuff of, I'm all right, Jack, it's not my area. This stuff plays into that. Like, I'm sure that there's a number of people here in uniform that if this was to go on in their locality, I'm sure they wouldn't be happy about it. And there's already been mumblings now from the uniforms to say that they aren't happy with the way they're being spoken to and treated by upper management. These people seem to understand what's going on. It baffles me how they can go and they can create a big presence at these protests and these blockades, but don't seem to be able to go in big numbers to the airport to check people's documents when they're coming into the country. Oh, Ninja Knight, that's not very humanitarian. You're not worrying about these refugees and asylum seekers. I couldn't give a rat's. What I would like to see is I would like to see these people in uniform standing at the border saying, do you have any stuff to come in here? No, you don't. Well, straight back onto the plane and off you go. At your expense too, boy. Don't come back. Banned. Look to you. So that's where I want to go with it. Now, again, I know, and I'm hearing you when you say, Ninja, that's going to play into it, because then I go, well, how do we do it? And then they'll start with the facial recognition, thumbprints and all that, biometric data and everything like that. And that plays into everything else that's going on here as well. Don't forget that. Okay? Because now you've got the PSC. There's a big story that's, I hope I posted here tonight. But anyway, the PSC now is in trouble. There's a big action being taken against that because of the data that's on that. So that's interesting to see. But what I will say is, in relation to this video, you hear the upset in this video, which is, I think, shameful. I think it's shameful to see people in uniform hear this upset from locals in the community and still go on and do what they are doing. And as I said, I'm not calling for anything radical or anything like that out here. You know that. You know I'm all about peace, and you know I'm all about being respectful. But what I'm saying is, if you happen to know some of these people privately, have a word, please. Say something to them. Because if you're as dismayed and disgusted as a lot of the people out here are with these sort of actions, you got to let these people know. And when is it going to be enough? Is it going to be when Ahmed and Kelechi are taking over and they're in charge then? Is that when you're going to look for support then? Because that's in probably another 5 years. Are you going to get that support from the public? Remains to be seen. Look at the nurses. The nurses could go on strike tomorrow and people wouldn't give a rat's. They wouldn't give a rat's because they know. They've seen the TikTok dances. They see the Jerusalem dance that the Gardaí did too, by the way, was you were told not to go 5k away from your home. They could do that with drones and all that and do that little stupid dance with the stupid song. So people looked at that and they went, why would you take these people seriously? They look at the open invasion that a lot of people are calling it now into Ireland. They look at the DPP failing to prosecute Leo Varadkar. They look at Roderick O'Gorman still holding his position as to what he is doing. They're looking at this hate speech nonsense. They're looking at nonsensical things being looked to be interested and investigated by Socioeconomic. And people are looking at it going, doesn't make any sense. Let's have a look at this and see if you feel the same way I did when I saw this. I tell you, it's not easy. And I will say that it's not easy to make me emotional. I know I wasn't emotional now in a sad way or anything like that. I was emotional in a different way. And it's harrowing stuff.
We're not here for a fight. We're not here for a fight. We're not here for a fight.
Guys, we're all peaceful here. We're all
This is so unfair. So unfair. So unfair. I can't believe you are doing this. Do you know what this are doing to this community? Do you really know what these are doing to us? Honest to God, you know what these are doing to us. We heart is broken. I swear to God. Can you stop? You're upsetting me as well. This is desperate what these are doing to us. You understand this? You understand you never letting it here. This whole community. My heart is broken.
Guys, understand.
What are you doing? What are you actually doing? Who's paying for the fucking gazebo, you bro? This is so criminal fucking damage. You just don't need to hold the line. We're not going to do it, and we're standing here.
People. Fucking people. Jesus, lads. Have you done that to me now?
Janet, I knew this was going to fucking happen tonight.
1, 2, 3, 4, 8 lads.
No, don't be breaking things down here. We'll move them. Don't be breaking things down here.
We've moved that. Guys, we'll move that.
There was a great response to this because I know people would say, "Whoa, looking at that," but there was a great response to it because then there was a march subsequently to this, and people turned up in their numbers. They did, and they showed support to the people of Sandry, and I think that's great to see. You know, this is a grassroots movement, and grassroots movements are going to grow bigger and bigger and bigger. And people would say, "Well, there's only a couple of hundred at that." Sure, but that video there is going to do way more than what I will do for hours talking. It's going to do way more than what an awful lot of other people are going to do. That is as visceral as it comes, and the upset that is very palpable in that video, and seeing people that are happy to stand in uniform for a couple of shekels to stand there and behave and do this and enable this is nothing short of shocking. I mean, Santry's not that far from the airport. You know, and this energy ain't being shown for people coming into the place illegally. Like, let's just make that clear. Illegal entry into this country is being facilitated here, allegedly speculatively. And you've got people that are here in this area that have grown up in this area, that live in that area, that have been treated like this. They've been told to move on and told, "Oh, no, go away there with that," and being told, "Listen, we're going to bring these people in anyway." Like, these people, by the way, in the likes of the government are so out of control here in Ireland that they are pushing through this mandate and are not listening to the people. You had Desi Ellis rocking up outside this place and he was going, "Oh yeah, no, like, you know, we have to facilitate these things." No, you're actively been told by the people that have allegedly speculatively voted you in to not do this. And you've decided to crack on with it. You've decided to just go ahead with it. So you have a big thing, and I'm going to show you here tonight. The Red Sea poll that came out, by the way, had 75% of people. Now, this is the Red Sea poll, by the way. This is something that I would even call into question in the past and would have done. But you have even their polls now are being overwhelmingly told to the government and these people in these agencies, "Hey, you're after making a big mess here," and they don't agree with these people coming in and they think the place is oversubscribed. I agree. And now 75% of people agree, according to this Red Sea poll. So are you, as Toby said during the week, are you a 75%er or are you a 25%er? Because if you're a 25%er, listen, that means 75% of the people think Ireland is full. So I don't know about you, but that would suggest to me that that's a very good number to be on the side of at this moment in time. But like I said, and it was something that Gav said during the week on the spaces as well, he was talking to a couple of young fellas that were at the subsequent march after this, and he said to the young fella, like, "What's the story? Why did you come here? Like, what's going on?" And the young fella said, he says, "Well, I seen that woman." He says, "And I heard her, and I was saying, like, what if that was my nanny?" And he says, "And that's why I'm here." And I said, "You know what? That's brilliant." And Gav was like, "No," he says, "I thought the same." He says, "I thought it was excellent." And I said, "That's brilliant to hear that." Because that's the type of grassroots movements that are needed, and that is what's going to wake people up for that when they say, "Hang on here, that's a relative of mine, or that could be a relative of mine that's now been just discarded and displaced in their own area." Like, this stuff, the wheels are going to come off this quite soon Because, like I said beforehand, this is why they're trying to push through this hate speech nonsense. They want to be able to have the powers, because that's something that Satirical Soldier has been talking about as well recently. You see, with these people, what they do is they go for an all-in approach. They like, oh, this is what we're going to do. It's totally totalitarian. And people, there's a bit of bite back to that, and they know that. And they go, oh, maybe we overstepped the mark. Well, whoops about that one there, guys. I tell you what we're going to do. We're not going to do that. But what we are going to do is we're going to censor more online. So that's what is going to happen. They're going to attempt to do that because, as I said beforehand, you've got Philip streams, you've got Derek streams, you've got Satirical Soldier doing what he's doing, and you've got Saints and Scholars that are out there. You've got the Irish Inquiry, you've got the Irish Gettr that's out there as well too. They are putting out videos that are absolutely dismantling the narrative, and it's important that that is happening. And that is what's upsetting these people in these positions, because when someone sees, and this is the thing, and this is what bugs them the most, the guys like me, Satirical Soldier, Derek Bloig, Philip Dwyer, Saints and Scholars, Irish Inquiry, Irish Gay, we're putting these things together and putting them out. Just giving our thoughts and opinions on these things. Same with Toby, same with Chopper as well. Giving our thoughts and opinions on these things. This is a multi-million euro, I would have said pounds beforehand, because I think we should go back to punts, to be honest with you. This is a multi-million euro machine that's been halted and being usurped by people on their own that are just giving their own thoughts and opinions, being real. Like that video that I've done as well too on the Sinn Féin video there, Angus O'Snowdig, that was telling a voter to F off. That now has over 3,000 views. And it's closing in. Let's just see how many likes it has, because I'll tell you here now, live whilst we're here. It's closing in on, just waiting for this here, it's on 618 likes. That's more likes than Sinn Féin had in the last video with 22,000 views. You know what I'm saying? So what's happening now is the numbers game is starting to be played, and people are going, hang on here for a second now. If a political party that has multiple people in it, which has their comments off, has 46,000 subscribers, but they can't get more likes than the Clown World Commentary channel. What's that about? What's going on there? And then you see incidents like this. You are in the majority. These people are in the minority there when it comes to this establishment. This establishment don't want any of this on their doors. And this is to sow discontent in areas. This is to create issues in these areas. And if I'm speaking truthfully, which I always do, and I try to do as much as possible, if you're a member of Uniform facilitating this, like, are these people going to hold you accountable if anything should happen? Who is held accountable should anything happen? Because pointing at the goon that's just at the coming in, the barbarian, we'll just say, the barbarian that's just at the coming in, and pointing at the goon when he gets up to no good, and say, goon, you know, absolute idiot. Now, hang on here, there's about 4 or 5 different people and to blame for this here. And it's definitely not the locals that are saying, no, we don't want this, because they know the sus. These people have young daughters, they have young sisters, they have young granddaughters, they have young sons, because let's remember the men, by the way. We have to remember our own men. They've young sons, they've elderly fathers, they've got young fathers, they've got young brothers, they've got young grandsons, and they're having these likes floating around their areas. I'm telling you, it's a bad idea, is all I'm saying. And all I like to say is it's cause and effect. That's all I like to talk about on this channel. Clown World Commentary, cause and effect. And the cause and effect as well is going to be very interesting. And like I said before, and I'm going to paraphrase here, I have heard allegedly, speculatively, stories of people that come from Eastern Europe, allegedly, speculatively on that one, that haven't looked at this and done similar things. Like, these people look at what's going on here and they go, that's very peaceful. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's a good thing. I think it's very important to remain peaceful, and I think that's what's going to be more visceral and grow the grassroots movement even further. Now, of course, we'll have a couple of glowies that'll appear here tonight, and they'll say different in the likes of the chat, and that's cool. You know, it's whatever your prerogative is as a glowy. That's your prerogative, and possibly even your mission. But I think standing firm and staying true has been super important. Look what went on in Pear Street. Look what went on here now. There's been a big turnout then as a result, which I think is a great thing to see. So we'll get going when it comes to these things. And I think, to be honest with you, videos like those just serve to let people know what's going on. And this is why you have then a poll on the likes of Twitter with, do you think the Gardaí have turned their back on the Irish people or turned their back on Ireland, whatever I may have phrased it. That's why it gets a heavy amount of people saying, yeah, we think we did. We think they did. So it's no surprise. So let's keep going. We'll have a look at the Irish gear here now. Obviously, a little bit of cross promotion. Hope he doesn't mind. Hope he's cool with this. But I just thought this was a fantastic video, and I said, do you know what? I'm not going to speak on this because the Irish gear just perfectly said it. You said it perfect. Couldn't say it. People are like, Ninja, you went to 5 octaves there. What's going on? He said it perfectly. Let's have a look.
Minister Harris on recent migrant protests.
You do have a right to protest in this country.
Just hang on for a second, just before I play the rest of the video. I know that bugs some people, but do you hear how Harris talk? Imagine being a 6'2" burly guard. Someone that looks after themselves. You might be fond of going to the gym. You might be fond of having a fresh face. You might like the tricolour. You might be into the old guy. You might identify as a patriot. And you see this guy, and this guy is your boss.
Hi guys. Hi there, guys. We're not going to let the people of Ireland have any sort of say there.
Like, speaks very like Leo Varadkar. Some people have been making that. They're like, it sounds very like Leo Varadkar. And I'm like, it does. A lot of these people run the same circles. Noodle arms individuals. People you wouldn't pick on a 5-a-side that like to tell you an awful lot about what to do. This guy didn't finish 3rd level education. Just want to point that out there. This used to be a nation of scholars, as we would talk about them. It was during the week we were talking about on the spaces there, and a couple of lads were talking about politicians that we had before and the great abilities that these guys had. Their speaking abilities, their capabilities, and then you look at the current crop, Oily and Flynn. I don't know any worse or words. And then you've got Harris here. You've got this guy here that thought there was 18 of these things before the 19th one came along. He stood up in the dawn and said that, and was lampooned after the fact. People were laughing and going, look at this guy. This guy is now the Minister for Justice. This fella couldn't tell you what's what. And this is what we have now as a result. We have fully become, if you've never seen the movie, check it out. It's called Idiocracy. We have a nation of absolute idiots running this place. Like, it is astounding. Like, think back 100 years and say, you put these people up and say, would you vote for Varadkar? Would you vote for Martin? Would you vote for Harris? And people look at you, they'd be like, are you having me on? So anyway, I'd just like to point that out, the little wheedly, warmly, quizzling type way of talking that these people have. So let's keep going. I won't interrupt Git this time though.
Minister Harris on recent migrant protests.
You do have a right to protest in this country, but you don't have a right to continue to obstruct, continue to impede, intimidate, or endanger. And I do think there's been a very fine line, and I do think on some occasions that line has been crossed.
Funnily enough, I remember a time not too long ago when I was obstructed from buying clothes for my children, or toys for their mental health, when at the same time I could buy toys for my dog. Then I was obstructed from going into cafes and restaurants because I didn't take a pharmaceutical product. Colleagues of yours even tried to get me obstructed from doing my weekly shopping. You intimidated and bullied people into taking that product. You impeded on all our human rights. And now all of a sudden these things are wrong.
So there's the Git knows what's what. I couldn't have said it better myself, and I share an awful lot of the same thoughts as him, and he's perfectly summed it up. How dare these politicians, these weasels, turn around and say to you,
it's very unfair what you're doing there.
Unfair. And this is why it has to come back. This is why people say, Ninja, you got to move on. You got to think, no. This is why you got to keep coming back to the last couple of years, because if that wrong isn't made right, well then wrongs are going to continue to happen. People need to be held accountable, and I mean massive changing of the likes of the justice system to make sure that these people are held accountable for the rest of their lives. I want to see people go to prison for the remainder of their lives for what they've done. And then they think that this stuff is all right. And what they think they're going to do is they think they're going to gaslight you into thinking, yeah, this is totally normal to see the place being absolutely invaded. Because let's have a look at this here. Herman Kelly put this out. The place is being invaded. And you've got a country here in Ireland, and I've said it beforehand, and numbers are a very easy thing to follow. you've got a population here in Ireland that they are saying is roughly between 4 to 6 million, 4 to 6 million. Yeah. Well, you've got people landing in this country ad nauseum en masse from continents like Africa that hold over 1.5 billion, India that's holding over a billion also, and China that's holding over a billion, with no means of stopping, with no halting of it going on. And that's before you talk about some of the other places like Georgia, Albania, Somalia, obviously as well too, obviously factors in there with the likes of the African thing. But all of these other places then, so they're effectively telling you and they are showing you how you're going to become a minority in your own country. Like, that's why I have such a respect for other cultures around the world that haven't had any of this, like the Japanese. The Japanese are awesome. They know what the story is. The Spanish too, in a way. The Italians also have this type of patriotism about them. Now, they're being flooded with the same sort of problems too. And they're noticing it and they're like, hang on here for a second. Like, you had an issue there last week and it was partial. Vinicius Jr., oh, I'm after being called names on a football pitch. You did something to get a red card. You got sent off. You were called names. And then you were telling everybody that La Liga is racist. Well, if it's that racist, how come you don't leave La Liga? No, I'm staying at Real Madrid. I love Real Madrid. Well, that's a weird thing to do. If it's that bad, would you not leave? So I don't believe what you're saying. Oh, they call me haughty words. They're not kicking your door down now, are they? You know, if you want to have a look at some sort of issues like that, maybe I could point you towards South Africa, perhaps maybe even Jamaica, maybe even South Chicago. That's all going on now. You seem to look the other way when it comes to those things. You seem to be looking the other way as well when it comes to viral videos that are up on Twitter and various other places of certain people engaging in certain acts, particularly criminal ones, and they all seem to have a very similar description. Wasn't there a recent TikToker there now as well in the UK called Mizzy that's after being filming himself taking people's dogs, walking into people's homes? And a lot of the Americans were like, that dude walked into my home, like it's not going to be an end result that he's going to like. So going back to this, Herman put this out, Herman Kelly, 74%, almost 3 out of 4 PPS numbers given out in 2023 went to non-Irish nationals. This is colonisation. Ireland is full, make Ireland safe again. This is a huge problem, and this is disproportionate, by the way, because as I explained in the video during the week when it came to the game with the likes of the snood on in May, when it's warm, these people in uniform and in those type of jobs don't see that these people are the ready-ups, the replacements for them. This stuff is all played out in America, by the way, lads. This is how I know this. Everybody knows this has happened. It happens in Australia. It happens in various different countries around the world. Economic migrants move into a place, and that means then the people that are working there that are at been getting a certain amount then get undercut, and they have to work for less or either not working that job at all. And that's going to happen in every single job here in this country with this sort of flow in, because they're openly talking about different jobs and making them more diverse, particularly our civil service jobs. So when that happens, then it's the wheels have come off massively. And then you're going to have people in control of certain things in certain positions then that are going to want to influence it in their ways, their customs, their heritage, their traditions, their morals. And that's not always in keeping with what people believe. You know, people look at these things and they say, well, you know, it's like a football club, you know, you go through turbulent times. Sure, yeah. But one of the biggest things that is key to a football club that it keeps is culture, heritage, tradition. And that is something that Ireland should be looking at. And I know Ireland's not a football club, but instead it should be looked as something that is worth preserving. These people that are in power don't seem to think it's worth that at all. Walk around town, have a look at it. The place is in the state. It's in an awful state. And then you have people just vagabonds walking around the place. I'm not talking about people that are here on tourism or anything like that. And I mean, I don't think anybody should be denied a holiday. People like me and you, of course, were denied a holiday over the last few years because you didn't want to take something that was a product that was coming from a company that has done criminal things in the past. And you said, nah, I think I'll pass on that. And you were treated as a criminal. You were treated with utter disdain. Meanwhile, then, at the same time, the borders never closed. And instead, more and more people came in. And now they're coming in at a rate that is so disproportionate now that you're actually seeing more PPS numbers being given out to people that are not from this country than actual Irish people. And I would even suggest this, by the way. I would even suggest that the Irish number as well too could be way lower than what has been suggested here. Because when these people like to count Irish, by the way, they are talking about Ahmed that has been in the country for 15 minutes as being Irish. You know what I mean? You wouldn't get this in any other, well, you would, I suppose, in the likes of America and other places as well that have all adopted this same policy. But you don't rock into Japan. I don't know anybody that's gone to Japan and said, after 15 minutes, after a year, I was told I was as Japanese as the Japanese people that are there for centuries. Doesn't happen. You're laughed out of the place. In fairness to the Asian countries, they know what's what. They do. So you've got this here. So that's fantastic stuff to see there. The total PPS numbers issued 2023 is 83,079. And that's only so far. This is January to April, by the way. 61,526. That's nearly filling Croke Park, lads. That's just to put that into context. You know what I mean? And there you've got this here, 21,553. That's nearly 3 times less. Like, you got to look at this here, guys, and you got to say, this is a very visceral problem. And like I said beforehand, you've got a lot of people that say, well, there's no problem with people coming in here. Well, there is, because that's inevitably, and again, just to explain it, because people say, and try to take the easy way out, oh, you just don't like, no, that's not what it is. What it is you're looking at future generations and you're saying, well, if this unlimited amount of immigration is coming into the country, the house prices are going to continue to go up to an unsustainable level. And what is going to happen is then you're going to have, which is happening right now, guys, bog standard average houses here in Dublin are 6 figures. They are now crossing, some of them, €500,000. I know people now that are getting into the purchasing space and are talking about 465,000 for a house. It's a 3-bedroom semi-detached house, and they're talking about 465,000. Like, when I was growing up, you used to look at certain houses in certain areas and you'd say, that's a €500,000 house. That one, I'd love to own one of those, maybe someday. And I'm talking about, like, literally, it's a literal dream house you're talking about. Now you're looking at that and it's a 3-bedroom kip in some place that you wouldn't want to live in anyway. Do you know what I mean? And as I keep saying to people, this is going to affect counties outside of Dublin. And that's why you're seeing big pushback. I would say, I know I say, and some people slag and say, you're telling the rural. The countryside community understand that. And they're like, there's a big problem. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Did you see the names that went up there in Galway? By the way, Galway City, most popular boy name, Mohammed. You have a problem. You've got an issue there, guys. That's like me going to the likes of Abu Dhabi. And then the most popular name then propping up in Abu Dhabi is Sean. Where the fought it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you'd be looking at it going, sure, that doesn't make sense at all. Of course it doesn't. So when you see figures like these are massive alarm bells going off. And you just got to look at the proclamation, which I think is very important to look at, and have a look at the proclamation and see what that says. There's even a phrase in it that's used, and I shouldn't say a phrase, maybe even a statement, and it says the only people that can be responsible, and I'm paraphrasing here now, for Ireland's destruction is the Irish themselves. And what you've seen is a number of people in suits, in particular, in government, that are responsible for this sort of nonsense, that are just doing this anyway. Whether you care for it or not, they're telling you on the likes of Virgin Media there. Simon Harris is telling you, it doesn't matter what you think. They don't have a right to do that. Anyway, here's more clown world stuff. We'll talk about this here. Black and Irish, no such thing. That's nonsense. There is. That's absolute nonsense. You're African, or maybe you're from somewhere else there that happens to have a pigmentation like that, but you're not black and Irish. That's not right. That's incorrect. Tonight marks the 3-year anniversary of the shall we say, the outing of St. George. And St. George there now, by the way, a guy that attacked a woman who was pregnant. I know the left don't care about that at all. It only seems to suit their narrative and the sides. But yeah, that's a fact about him. A very bad individual. And of course, eulogising that individual. So just to put that up there, their first sentence here, eulogising a career criminal. A lot of people would have another few choice words for that. Watershed a moment in our shared history. We must continue to fight for an inclusive and equal society together. How about doing that back in your own country? That would be great. Where did you hail from? Nigeria, was it? Well, head on back there now and see how that goes there. Make that a more equal society over there. How come you've come over here to pontificate to us? It doesn't seem like things seem to be going well where you were. What's happening with Christians in Nigeria, by the way? Anyone know? What about any of these other places, by the way? How come these are not sending the brains of the operation here, of course, to this place? Instead, you're having these people, we need to make it more inclusive and, it's a shared moment in history. No, it's not. We couldn't give a rat's. Absolutely not a rat's. We must continue to fight for an inclusive and equal society together. Now, you are equal. What rights do you not possess that everyone else does? Like, what are you talking about? You possess all of the same rights. And instead now what you're trying to do is you're trying to say, oh, well, actually, do you know what? You guys possess more than we do. No, you don't. No, you don't. Absolutely not. Where everyone is treated with respect and dignity. Career criminal, and that's been linked in with respect and dignity. Now, they're only short of calling him a decent human being, which is another tactic of the left as well too. Oh, we can use flowery language to say that this guy is actually a nice guy. No, he wasn't. Dope is what he was. Absolute dope. I'm not a jot should anyone give about this fella not being around no longer. Like, that's it. Instead, these people are like, oh, let's eulogize him. Any chance he is, by the way, black and Irish? Would you like to talk about Officer David Dorn? Would you like to talk about him? Would you like to talk about him at all? Now, of course, it wouldn't be interested in him at all now. He was a man that was interested in law enforcement, was part of law enforcement, and unfortunately is no longer with us due to the Boy Large Mansions crowd running amok through an area and him no longer being on this plane of existence. You want to talk about him, though? Will you? No, that's weird. He's going to talk about Jamie Foxx? Don't think so. Seems very selective, doesn't it? Weird, that one. Anyway, let's move on. Red Sea poll. This is coming from the Business Post HQ. And it says, Red Sea poll, 3 out of 4 think Ireland has taken too many refugees. Boom. Done. Conversation's over. It's finished. That's it. You've lost. You've lost now. 75% think that this is enough now. We get it to 100%. Let's get it to 100%. And, let's not count left because you know yourself what comes there now. Who's the 25% that are like, I don't think it's a problem? I mean, these must be some of the most low T and sub 50 IQ people you could probably ever meet, is it? Eating the crayons, these individuals. Eddie, is that what's going on? What's the story there? I don't think they've taken in too many. Have you looked around the country at all lately? Have you looked around? Have you been listening to people saying that they feel unsafe around the place now? Have you not heard any of that at all? Well, anyway, 75% of people think that you are wrong. So that is great. That's good numbers, I have to say. And it's great to see the picture being used here as well, too. Saying now in the tricolours. I love it. Absolutely love to see it as well, too. It's absolutely brilliant. So there you go. That's a massive story that came out now during the week. And I have to be honest with you, that's a big heart warmer because the movement is on. And a lot of people now are recognising what's happening. Now, I've seen a couple of people talk about it online. And they've said, well, they're trying this in Ireland because they think that the Irish won't do anything about it, and it's to send a message to everyone around the world. It is, and what's happening is right now, though, the counter to that is happening. People around the world are taking notice of what's going on here and what people are doing. You've got the likes of the hate speech nonsense that was commented upon by Elon Musk and Jordan Peterson. And like I always say, our battles are our own and no one else is going to do that for you. But bringing attention to that, and like, for example, not too long ago, the Enoch Borg story was humongous on the internet. People were pointing at that going, look what's going on over here. Like, huge internet personalities. And that now has gathered a lot of attention from people to say, oh, actually, I think that he was right. And subsequently then, since then, people are like, I think they're trying to vilify him. It's like, yeah, okay. Now you're starting to hear all of the same target points that we've been hitting for the last while and telling you how these things operate. And that's why it's important for you to tell people as well how these individuals and these organizations operate. Like, one of the most interesting things, and I have to reinstate this, or I should say, reaffirm this, was Afghanistan. When the Afghanistan people took back over the place when the Americans left, do you know what was the first thing that they did? They bounced the NGOs out of the place, they did. And I'm not talking, like, they didn't ask them to live. Like, they told them, you're gone. And they left. And they... you have to talk about it a certain way. You haven't heard a peep, is all I'm going to say about Afghanistan since then. You haven't heard a word, so you haven't. That's interesting, that one, isn't it? I find that to be fascinating. So they told them, out you go. The Afghans, obviously, as well, too, went around to different places and said anybody that was collaborating with the gang that were here running the show for the last few years, you know, you're now going to prison. It's interesting stuff happening there. You're not hearing much of it. Now, here we go. We're going to go into clown world here now, because whilst we get into some of the nitty gritty of what's going on here, we also have to laugh and have a look at these things. I'm going to put this up here, and this is very offending to the eyes now. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm real with you on this. This nonsense here really is offensive. And the fact that they think that this is all right to post this out, and not only post this out, but certainly promote it, says an awful lot. Look at all of the nonsense that has been promoted around this country. And not only for the month of June, which it was supposed to be just held to. Funny that the shortest month in the year is also being given to a certain race, that one, isn't it? Yeah, that's interesting. And then they're giving a month to this stuff. Now, again, as I keep saying to people, when you break it down to brass tacks, if you wanted to keep talking to people that you know about your, let's just say, persuasion, orientation, or what you like and what you're up to, it would be labelled all sorts of different labels, and rightfully so in my belief. But when it comes to this nonsense, because people don't want to look exactly at what's going on, they ain't honing in it. As I said before to people, it's Mickey's. Mickey's and Mickey's and the other stuff as well too. These people are trying to laud that they're, oh, I'm so proud that I did this stuff. Who cares? I don't care what you're doing. If you're a legally consenting adult, I don't care what you're doing. Do it behind closed doors. I don't want to see it anymore. I'm done. And I've no interest in seeing it in my entertainment. I've no interest in seeing it on my street, and I've no interest in it being celebrated at all. And where it starts to cross the line is when you start to do stuff like this here as well, by the way. Dundalk Youth Pride. What do you mean by that? Why are you talking and going towards youth? What's the story with that? This stuff here, this Dungarvan thing, that was a big hot spot there last year, wasn't it? What happened there? Few suspect things went on there. You've got many of these things occurring then in different months. August, July, September. This shit is only supposed to be restricted to 1 month. And now they're stretching on into August, July, and September. And then they're talking about the youth in this. Like, I tell you what, lads, it's starting to pop off now, because people are starting to look at this, and especially, I have to be reaffirming when I come to this, the Yanks have led the way. They have absolutely ballooned Anheuser-Busch out of the place. Bud Light has lost so many sales that they are trying to give it away, and they can't. You have Target now that has become, ironically, the latest target by people to say, I ain't shopping there now anymore. And they lost their cojones after 24 hours. They bottled it. They were like, actually, do you know what? We're going to take all of this stuff down. And as a matter of fact, we're going to reaffirm St. George at the same time and hope that the black community will come back. Because I'm telling you, some of the voices in America that are the loudest, that the black people are over there, I mean, they're real loud about this, and it's good to see. And then you've got the people now as well. They're obviously, and very much so, you know, I remember the Louis Theroux documentaries that were out there, and you had the specific one that was on the family in America. And at the time, I think a lot of people were swayed with the way of thinking of, Jenny, they're taking it a bit extreme. And then you're like, now fast forward to 22, 23, and you're like, I think they had a point. I think they had a point. Because not what I'm saying is, you know, to be that type of way, but the slippery slope fallacy that a lot of people talked about at the time, which was, we just want equality in marriage. I don't agree with it, but you've been given it, and now it's all gone all the way to, you can totally change what you are. No, you can't. No, you can't. And now they're trying to feed it towards your kids in school. No, absolutely not. And not only that, then you want to be, what shall we say, throwing this around to people for months and then having to endure this nonsense. Well, there's two things that are going to happen here. The first thing is this. You're starting to see the Catholic Church start to make a comeback. You're at the seeing some based posts be put out there by these people. And I'm like, that's fantastic to see, because the tide has turned. And they are coming out first. They were out before, by the way. Don't forget, they were out before the Islam community when it was mentioning all of this gender ideology. The Catholic Church were out first, which was great. And I was just like, that's good points for you guys. And you know my point when I say these type of things, when I say you guys, you know that I'm a follower of our Lord and Saviour. You know what I think of the institution, on the other hand. You know, like the institution led by a man there that was hanging around with the little fella in the camo t-shirt that's running around the world gaining billions. Anyway, that's a story for another day. But you've got now that seemingly it seems like there's starting to be a bit of a problem within that profession insofar as they're starting to come on board and go, okay, right, this is bang out of order. And the people are like, yes. It's good to see that. It's great. So that's the first problem you have. You got a problem now where people are going to just say, no, I'm not having any of this now. And again, I'm not supporting, endorsing, or telling people I need to do this or anything like that. I'm disavowing anyone who does. But you're going to have people that are going to turn up to these things. And first of all, what you're going to have is you're going to have people that are going to go and record at these things. And they're going to report from the ground level. And they're going to ask very difficult questions to these people. And it's going to go up. And that's going to be real telling. And that's great. And I'm hoping that people do that, in fairness. You're going to have the second thing that's going to happen, which obviously, again, I'm not condoning, supporting, or endorsing and disavow as well too. You're going to have a situation like what happened in Sligo. So that's, again, the long game that's been played out in front of you. And that's the purpose of it. The purpose of it is to play these people against each other and to cause total discontent, total disharmony, and to ensure then that there's enough squabbling going on amongst people that they're not minding what the people in the suits are doing who are pushing this stuff forward. I mean, look at this shambolic nonsense, and they'll run around as well too, and they say, "Oh my God, Leon Varadkar and Roderick O'Gorman are getting terrible abuse, and it's because of what they are." Well, you know what? I think now it's come to the point in time people are starting to look at that and they go, "Hang on here now. The two architects of some of the biggest problems here at Orden has now are gay. Got to seriously look at that. You obviously got to seriously look as well too that an awful lot of lefty women are in charge as well too and are running these things and agreeing to these things. Got to look at that. You got to look at those 2 points." You also got Leo Varadkar as well too. Obviously, that is none of this land. He has a foreign name, as you know, and has a foreign father, and was trying to commemorate the Black and Tans. So now people are starting to look back at that, and they're going, "Oh no, I think I'll tell the truth now when it comes to these things." And I think you're right. I think you're right to point out these things so that people go, "Yeah, look, there's one example of that there. What's that one Hazel saying over there? She calling people racist." I don't know about you lads, but if you've ever been to China or anything like that, or any of these Asian countries, I think you might have a bit of a different opinion on what racism is there. Have you not seen the videos of when black basketball players go over there? Have you not seen that? And you think then that wanting to preserve the native population of this country is racist? How about that same energy for China? How about we put a lot of white people over there and totally displace the Chinese people? Would we do that? Would we do that? No? Okay, well, that's an interesting thing to say. So anyway, you've got this stuff going on here. It's going on months now. So are you going to endure it, or are you going to say, no, I'm not having any of this? Because what's effective, by the way, and again, very simple, is contacting these places and saying, I don't agree with what you're doing. Shame on you. And they're going to get more of that as things progress. There's Roderick O'Gorman. A lot of people are putting up the content. Now, these are obviously as well too available online, just so you know. This isn't something I'm not, taking this from somewhere that I'm not. This is available. These are just contact details as a minister. And people are suggesting that you contact Roderick O'Gorman through email or maybe through phone and say to him, like, I don't agree with what you're doing here and I think it's bang out of order. So a lot of people are suggesting online. Garda Commissioner Drew Harris said there were 2 parts to the far-right playbook: to act on local fears and gather a crowd and then seek an overreaction from the Gardaí. Listen, PSNI should be nowhere near running the Gardaí here in this country. That's all I'm going to say about that one. But you want to talk about reaction. A reaction would be turning out to people and telling them to get out of the way to accommodate people that are not of this land. That's antagonizing people, and that's irritating people, and that's angering people. That's the wrong thing to do. It is absolutely the wrong thing to do. And again, this is how you know it's such a banana republic in the place, because if this fella was doing these sort of things and overseeing these things in a real country, this fella would be sacked. He'd be gone, and possibly even arrested for what he's doing. Amongst the other ministers that are allowing this sort of stuff go on, that would be what would be happening in a functioning democracy here and a country that was interested in law and order. This guy, on the other hand, far right, calling people, you call nationalists, and he's called a nationalist, and people that are in love with this country, far right. Don't think so. No one's buying it anymore. This is a brilliant meme that came out during the weekend. It says, narrative falling apart, hire Z-listers. Now, you will have a quick look at this imagery here and you'll go, don't know who any of these people are. NGO bundle deals 50% off. This is the way to go about things, guys. Memeing these people is very, very, very important, Because what happens is you've got shams here that stick on this t-shirt and they go, I said refugees welcome on the t-shirt. Look at me. I'm very welcoming. How many of these people do you have living in your home? None. You don't have the space. Well, you were earning a few quid. You were Johnny Vegas's ex-missus, aren't you? Didn't you have a child with Johnny Vegas? So I'm sure he's paying a fair amount of money there to you. You do enough spieling and shite now you're there online. It seems to be your job. Goofing now you talking nonsense. Are you housing any of these people? No? PJ Gallagher. Hi guys. The fella that Conor McGregor was saying had the posture of a prawn not too long ago. This guy is mad into Bohemians Football Club, by the way. Bohemians Football Club, if you don't know them, have become more prolific over the last number of months because they've been spouting all this sort of nonsense too. And people just point them back to a fella called Izzy Akinade that played for them. And they're like, you guys? No way. I don't know who any of these other people are. Some other people in the chat might say it to me. They might say, you know, I don't know who any of these individuals are, but it's right. Z-listers. This is Maya Dunphy, by the way. I always refer to her as Johnny Vegas' ex because that's the way to appropriately refer to these people, I believe. I don't know who any of these other people are. But refugees welcome, but just not in your gaff. I'm surprised that you've got old Liam not here from the old Game of Thrones. I'm shocked that he's not here because they were out spouting out him as well not too long ago. So there you go. Those memes are very effective. Satirical Soldier put this up earlier on. And I have to say, if you're not following Satirical Soldier's Telegram, have a look at it. Based content over there, lads. Absolutely unreal it is. So you've got this guy over here. This is a fella that was after being on the, or is he on? I think we have to even say allegedly, respectively, because you've got this guy now taking part according to himself and according to some of the stuff there. Far Right Observatory, is it? So this guy's job is to sit around allegedly, respectively, and document what people are saying online and the naughty things that people are saying, like, you know, preserve our country, preserve our history, our tradition, and preserve the future. Meanwhile, guys like this that don't seem to have any family, that don't seem to have any prospective future, doesn't seem to have a ma. You know, some people in the chat, particularly the women, but don't be calling us mats, doesn't seem to have a board, is out there and is saying, you guys are wrong. I mean, you're out there, mate. You're absolutely out there. And according to Satirical Soldier, he stuck this up, and the Phyllis Schofield one, and then boom, Satirical Soldier was blocked, and the replies were limited. That's what that thing means here. When that goes kind of white, it means that you can't reply anymore. So Satirical Soldier got in there. Follow him on Telegram, but he's also here obviously as well on Twitter. So Phyllis Schofield, that's gonna be another story, by the way. That's an eye opener, and I'm just gonna let you know that now. You best prepare people for that story to break real soon. Everyone in this circle knows what I'm talking about, and they know what's going on there. You best believe you should be telling people that don't know what's going on about Philip Schofield now, because I'm telling you, they're going to tell you in about 2 months. They're going to out it and they're going to go, oh, this is uncontainable now. We can't actually go with this again. This is Jim will fix it 2.0. What can we do? Oh my God. We're going to have to tell them. We're going to have to tell them, because the GB News are putting the pressure on. Eamon Holmes is making all sorts of inference here with relation to this here. And the fact that this guy was out here talking to a YouTuber telling them take the video down. I'm telling you, lads, you need to get ahead of that one and tell people what's going on. So anyway, I thought that was very funny. You know, Satirical Soldier, as I said, has fantastic content over there in Telegram. Telegram's another good app. You know, I love Gab. Gab is my favorite, it is, but Telegram's another good one as well, where you get a lot of info. Let's keep going with the imagery, and we will go with the imagery, and I'll show you some of the other things. Look at this. It's long this. No, you're an idiot. Boom, boom, boom. Anytime I see someone spouting this stuff, it's not over, it's still here. You're like your man, what's his face, the gremlin-looking character out of 300. You know, the one that betrays the Spartans. That's you. That's you. That's you. You're hanging around with the Persians, Jared. That's what you're up to. And it's long this. No, it's not. I think you've taken way too many of these things, and that's probably what's going on there, because there ain't no flies on me. There's no bother here. 3 years later. Do you know what? I had a conversation with, not even a conversation, I mean, to elicit a conversation from someone would suggest that you were having a speech and indeed eliciting a reaction from someone that holds an IQ that is over 50, and this person just wasn't. This individual was just like, I listened to the science and I followed the science, and I'm still here. And I said, well, I didn't listen to anything that they said. I did what I was doing over here with the other people that were wearing the tinfoil hats, and I'm still here 3 years later. How do you explain that? Visible. And I'm telling you now, in the next tweet that he put out, visible recoiling. Couldn't understand, and went, well, you have your way and I have mine. Hang on here for a sec. Your way was bound to the fact that you needed to take how many of these things? Well, I'm all up to date on these things. Okay, so you've taken 5 of these things. My way was to take 0, and I'm okay. How do you explain that? Well, I would rather listen to these agencies and these government officials, the ones that have been wrong. Okay, and would you say that these people are trustworthy? Yeah. Here, come here to me. If you're an Arab, I have some sand to sell to you there now. You know what I mean? If you're someone who lives on a beach there, I've got some sand to sell to you there. Come on. Like, absolutely unbelievable. The lack of IQ that you can be dealt with online is actually staggering. And just to think that those people get to walk around and vote and stuff like that, you're looking at it going, wow. So anyway, we'll keep pressing on. This is what Braid Smith was up to during the week. 5 years of this. We voted to trust women. Lads, I can't put into words, unfortunately, on this platform my exact thoughts on what I think about this, other than the word evil. That's the only thing I can say. There was another live stream that was done by Paul Murphy that gathered about 30 people outside the doll. And I'm not joking with you. I obviously can't show the image here on this platform because it would be deemed not appropriate. Because you had people hanging around and I ironically thought as well too, I was just like, they're wearing like really pointy black hats there. That's kind of very strange, and they're wearing other stuff that's very revealing. Of course, the usual sort of carry on there. And they're wearing black. Did we see that in Salem before? Was that some of the historical? No. Could you say that? So anyway, these people gathered about 30 odd individuals, and people on our side of the fence are like, look at this dude. There was a dude working on the left hand side, and they were like, that dude is at all these things. Is he a paid NGO supporter, organizer? People are starting to put people together. They're like, that person turns up to all of these things here. It doesn't seem to do anything else but turn up to these little events of 30 odd people. And the numbers for the likes of Murphy are dwindling. That's good news. It's very good news. And you've got these people here now that are using language. They voted to trust women. Hang on here for a second. Let me tell you something about this. And I know people that have been in this situation, obviously, as well, too. And, it's very hard to reconcile with people and certainly hold them to a standard that you have yourself, especially because people are different. But I would say this. Trust women. Women have the full and total control over this. The father has no say. The prospective father has no say. Now, I'm going to tell you this, and this might shock you to your core here, because this happened not too long ago in America. There was a fella, and rightfully so, by the way. I'm just going to preface this by saying that this was the right thing to happen. He got life imprisonment. And it was the right thing to happen, because what he decided to do was, he decided to take out his then girlfriend and then unborn, and was sentenced for 2, if you know what I'm talking about. Rightfully so. Absolutely rightfully so. Now, if you flip the roles there and you just think about one individual, there ain't no criminal act being held there or being done there. Now, in certain states around America, they're starting to turn that way. They're like, I'll tell you what now, lads, you are absolutely going to be criminalised for that. And now it's putting the frighteners up these people. So I think that this should be criminalised. I think the fact that they're trying to celebrate this as if it's, oh, trust women. You must be joking me. You absolutely have to be joking me. And the number of reactions here that were negative towards this were great. You see, this is the type of flowery nonsense that they're going with. You voted to trust women. Because what they want to do is they want to elicit an emotional reaction, which an awful lot of the time they do from particularly leftist women. and that you go, oh, so you don't trust women? Not at this point in time, no. Especially not lefty women. And certainly not with the stuff that you've been fed. You've been fed a very, very negative type of idea. People have been fed ideas, and this is the thing that I'm going to say here. People have been fed ideas, oh my God, I wouldn't be able to cope. I don't know what I do. My life is so bad. I don't know how I'd have a child. I'll tell you what you can do. You can sit down opposite a terminal patient and you can tell them how bad your life is. How about that? You sit down and talk to them about that. How about that? And you can turn around and say to them why this is so bad. It's a blessing. An absolute blessing it is. And these people want to wrap this up in nonsense like pro-choice, the most disgusting terminology that you can ever use to talk about something that is completely and absolutely, in my opinion, unhinged. So this is a group now that have lost the plot. And a lot of people now feel the same. They're going, hang on here now. A couple of years ago, people were swayed with things and they said, maybe this might be a good idea. Now you've got people on the other side of the fence that are like, no, hang on here now for a second. This is bang out of order. Because when they're seeing those numbers go up on the likes of PPS numbers, and who's been targeted, by the way, particularly in this country, to engage in this sort of stuff, you ain't, and I'm telling you, you ain't seeing the likes of people coming from the likes of the continent of Africa engaging in this stuff most times. You ain't seeing people that are Muslim engaging in this. They absolutely wouldn't. From the people that I've met and the people that I know, they wouldn't engage in it. Who do you think is engaging in these type of things? So I'm telling you now, it's a bad route to go down, and it's a bad road to go down. A lot of people are walking on it back now. They're like, yeah, that's a bad idea. And they're looking at the energy that's happening in America, and they're like, let's criminalize it. Abercrombie and Fitch decided to target children during the week. So this is the Pride collection. You've got a child here, and people say, that's not too much now. That isn't Ninja. Well, you've got this here. Abercrombie Kids Pride collection. So it's Kids Pride, Trevor Project. So this is a company as well that's been alerted to by an awful lot of other people as they're gone totally woke. So they used to have a CEO that was pretty based. He was just like, first of all, I don't want fat people wearing the clothes. I was like, well, he's promoting a healthy lifestyle, fair play to him. And then he's just like, I don't want ugly people wearing this stuff either. Well, fair play to him. And then he was like, well, there's a certain type of model that we want as well. Well, that's his choice. That's whatever he's up to there. This company has decided to do the complete opposite over the last couple of years and has lost money, and now it's at this. Now, you and I both know what this is, and you know what this is about, and it's very much so linked to what's going on here now in Ireland. This is an image, because whilst I talk about Abercrombie and people go, yeah, that's the Americans, whatever they're doing over there. Well, that's actually Abercrombie from Europe, by the way, just as you know there. So they're promoting that amongst people here in the likes of Ireland and in various other places there. This is Primark. This is, well, I should say Pennies, aka Primark here in Ireland. Now, let's have a quick look across this here. And you've got this here, €10. I'm proud. You've got all sorts of weirdos categorized together, of course, there. Look at this thing here. Oh, my God. But look what you have here in the middle. Slap bang in the middle. And family. You can almost hear the voice coming from the likes of, I don't know, Sorter or something like that from Thor Ragnarok. I don't even think, what is that film called? The one with Tom Cruise in it. And your man has the big horns in it. What's the name of the thing? You know what I'm talking about. Someone will say it in the chat they will know later on. Wasn't it the one, what was the name of that film? It was one of Tom Cruise's earliest ones it was as well. And it's a big red man, you know what I'm talking about? And he has the two black horns. Can't think of it. But you can almost imagine him going, family. And you're looking at it and you're like, yikes. Because now that's the type of thing that they're trying to legend. That's it. Nice one there. Appreciate that one there. Thanks. That's Erdabu that said that legend that was called. Yeah. That's almost what this is like. Don't listen to your actual family. We're your family now. You're looking and you're like, You see, again, this factors into what I was talking about. It factors into the, and I know some people might have seen it or might not have seen it. It factors into the Matrix little link that I put in that was like, well, Agent Smith is there to corrupt other NPCs, other people, is there to corrupt them and share his ideologies and his appeal for the outcome of what should happen. And this is what you're seeing right here. You have got these two dudes, and you've got this young person, which I'm assuming is supposed to be a child. You've got this one over here now. Apparently, that is someone that is lacking in stature. There's some people in the chat, I'm sure, that would say, why is Michael D. Higgins on that? Allegedly, speculatively. And I would say, I don't know. But it seems to throw in absolutely everybody possible. And of course, then don't forget the child. So, like I said to you before, this is the type of goofery, that's a new word I'm making up here, goofery that you're dealing with. This is on sale now in the likes of town and in the likes of the various other outlets that are out there around the country. What do you think about that? Now, I know it's going to happen from here. You're going to see a couple of base patriots that are going to go into these type of areas and they're going to record and they're going to talk about this. And they're going to get some sham as well too that hails from Brazil that doesn't speak much English. That will be the person that will be answering about these type of things. They go, well, what do you think of this? And they go, I know English. You know, that sort of nonsense. That's what you're going to get. And just putting it out there because there'll probably be a video within a week, I'd say, of it, allegedly, speculatively. And what you will get here is people saying, I'm not having this here. This has absolutely no place being promoted to children, nor should it be in any sort of vicinity around children. This is how overreaching this movement is becoming. And as I said to you before, this is all of the shades as well too, again, of what happened in America just now this year with Target. Target was promoting similar things towards kids. That's where this is going. Now, people might say, Ninja, you're taking it out of context. This is an adult's garment, and that's how it is. Next year, it ain't going to be. It's going to be a child's one. And they, of course, as well, too, will have it up here made in China, made in Bangladesh, and like that. You want to see what the type of behavior is in China when it comes to this sort of stuff. It ain't positive, just so you know. You know, I'd say, here's the thing. These people usually run the same circle. They run on the left. They love the refugees welcome and they love this guy. Wear this t-shirt in and go into some of these places and help them out and see what type of response you get. I'd also like, people that would like to wear this t-shirt to head on over to the likes of Qatar, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and Turkey even perhaps. And just see how you get on. Maybe even Iraq. Could we organise that? A week's trip over in these places and wear that around for a few days and see, how you get on. I think that would be very educational. So this is the sort of stuff that you're getting to see here now in Ireland. This has openly been promoted and being permitted. And people used to say, that's a joke, like that's not happening. And here we go here. And if there are multiple different flags as well too, I have no clue what some of these ones mean. I know that one means then as well too that you're a doubtfire. So this person here now is LARPing as a doubtfire. Look at this, lads. It's absolutely unbelievable. So let's keep going here. What else have we got? Oh yeah. This is what I wanted to show you. So I wanted to show you this here. Now they're splitting across this. I just wanted to show you here what RTE decided to post out beforehand. And I just want to give you a picture as to how this media company are behaving here in Northern, because that's what I like to do. This is how they spoke about Irish people in particular. Nationalist patriots saying, hang on here, there seems to be a big problem with what's happening in our country. There seems to be an unlimited amount of people coming in, and particularly an awful lot of dudes. A lot of these dudes show total disregard and disrespect towards the Irish people. So we have a problem with that. RTE ran with this and they said, how the far right are misrepresenting Irish history. No, they aren't. You see, this is something as well too that I suppose I'll echo from Satirical Soldier, maybe even paraphrase. These people that want to hold you to the whole, you have a debt to house the world because Johnny from Sligo went to America 100 years ago. I don't owe any debts for that. Nor does any prospective future generations here in this country. They don't owe any debt to these people. These Irish people that moved over to these places didn't sit on their arses and do nothing. They didn't get accommodation bought from them. They didn't get treated with the utmost of respect and be treated with even more privilege than any of the people that are native to the place. That didn't happen. The Irish are widely considered by people that I know in Australia to be the Nigerians of Australia. The Australians do not like the Irish people, and I understand why. Because I know a number of people that have went to Australia. Again, not all people, but I do know some people that have gone over there, and they're animals. So, what has Australia done? Australia has a very strict border, and it takes no messing. I know people that went over and they have had minor offences when they were kids. JLOs. didn't declare it, got to the place, were bounced back home on the flight the same day because the Aussies went, you didn't declare that, good luck. Don't know where else you'd get up to here. Proper order. Fully support the Aussies in doing what they are doing. Fair play to them. And these people are out here going, it's far right to think that people should be checked coming into this country. No, it's not. No, it absolutely isn't. That's sensible. And this idea and ideology of, oh, well, you should totally pay back the debt because this person went to Dubai and that person went to Australia. No, we shouldn't. You're not putting it on me. You're absolutely not putting it on me. No chance. Analysis. The use of the term plantation by far-right groups in Ireland is a localised effort to peddle misinformation. No, it's not. No, it's not. Because you're seeing all the hallmarks of a plantation here. You're walking around different places, whether it be your own streets, whether it be your city centre, whether it be your shops. You're going in there, just stand there and listen. Do you feel like you're in Ireland? I sure is. I was going to say something else there. I sure don't sometimes. Go in and say to myself, you're a stranger in your own country. And then you've got some goofball that can't even speak English fluently that's supposed to be taking your order, and you have to say it 5 and 6 times. I'd be honest with you, I'm becoming more belligerent. I'm just like, you either understand that you don't, or just get away from me. Or I want someone else. I want someone that knows what's going on. You know, we've been a very welcoming people, and that's coming very sharply to an end because people are going, do you know what? I've had enough of this here. And like I said before, I know people that went to Australia and they speak like Australians now because the Australians won't speak nor deal to them until they acclimatise to what it is to be an Australian. I think that's fairly accurate, and I think that's happy days. You see, in the likes of Spain also, just again, because obviously, as I say, I'm consistent with these things. Gareth Bale went to Spain and chose at the time not to learn Spanish. Well, that was responded to in a certain way by the Spanish people and the Real Madrid fans, and they said, right, we're not into that there. And I understood the Spanish. I was like, fair play to him, because he's went over there and he's decided not to engage in the culture at all, and has just took the mick out of him. So there you go. Now, that's how they reported, just to let you know, on Irish nationalists, Irish patriots. Look what they said about this fella. Rolf Harris, a disgraced entertainer and offender. You're not going to use the word Greedo? You won't use the word Greedo in the headline? Why not? Don't know what he is. Oh, no. He was a disgraced entertainer and he was convicted. A convicted offender for what? It could mean anything. Like, this is the sort of stuff that's been put through your mainstream media. Just so you know, disgraced entertainer, how the far right are misrepresenting Irish history, peddling misinformation and racism. This guy was evil, and you don't seem to be. It doesn't seem to be like for like there. What's the story? What's going on there? You know, the people that you're calling far right are good people by and large. I know that the likes of your media will try and paint these people out, and this is the new tactic, by the way. The far right now have some sinister and some criminal element to it. Listen to me, and I tell you this: when you have Leo Varadkar being investigated by the Gardaí, I don't know about you, but I look at that, and I look at some of the other stuff that went on over the last few years pertaining to the sniffles, and you're trying to then say to me who's a criminal? I don't think so. And I'm not going to listen to that nonsense. I'm not going to hear that. I'm not going to even take it on board. Get away from me. I don't care. At this moment in time, I don't care what Francis was doing 10 years ago. I don't care what he's doing 15 minutes ago. Don't give a rat's. I'm telling you now, because I know what Francis is up to. This is, by the way, this is a fictional person, by the way. I actually don't know anybody or anything like that. That's up to negative activity. Just so you know, I don't know anybody that's up to criminal activity. But what I'm saying is, as an Irish person in an Irish area, you know who the bogies are. You know what I mean? You know who they are. You know who to steer clear of. Different ballgame when it comes to these things. And again, as I said to you before, there's obviously loads of allegedly speculative when it comes to this as well too. There's people that are looking at this and they're going, the Albanians, they ain't some nice guys, is what it's what's been said. So these people are looking, and again, they're like, nah, that's my business, dude. And you know, again, like I said to you beforehand, they're looking at that and they're saying, no, I'm not having that. So when you then try to turn around and say, oh my God, we're so offended by the likes of a criminal element, who cares? I mean, you've sided with some nonsensical stuff over the last few years. So when you try and say to people, "Oh my God, you're associating with people," it's over. It's done. Mate. Nobody cares. They don't. They absolutely do not care when it's coming to that. Because I tell you what, these people that you're saying are a criminal element, by the way, would certainly think a certain way about this guy. And as a matter of fact, these people that you'd say have a criminal element would have more morals and would know, we shall say, what to do with people like this. You want to be talking to these people and having them on documentaries, like Louis Theroux documentaries. Let's try and understand this person. No, because what do you do to a dog when it does a certain thing to a child? What do you do with the dog? That's right. And we should hold that same standard as well too for humans. So anyway, let's keep moving on to this here. Torrald's Islamic Community Centre is in Tipperary. I mean, lads. Team, our event will focus on the theme of the Africa we want. They're not in Africa though. They're actually here now, plebbing out them about what's going on in Africa instead of, I don't know, staying in Africa and fixing it. This is all shades of Bob Geldof to it, doesn't it? We're gonna hold a concert. One of the worst things that probably ever happened in the human history. Honestly, we're gonna hold a concert, and we're gonna donate the money over there to these guys. Just pick up the phone and give us your money. No, because now it seems like there's lots of people hanging around the place that know what to do with their country, but aren't in their country, and then are complaining about people having white privilege here in this country. You must be joking. You must be joking me. Anyway, social justice, and inclusive development in Africa. So why aren't you doing that in Africa then? Our program and activities will aim to explore the root causes of social and economic inequality and promote inclusive policies and strategies that promote equity, diversity, and inclusion. The buzzwords are all put in there. We seek to create a platform for dialogue, collaboration, and knowledge sharing among stakeholders. There's that word. Tell you now, that word stakeholders, it's a very suspect word, in order to advance the cause of social justice and inclusive development in Africa. I'll tell you what, head on over and see how you get on, lads, because that's what the advice I'd like to give you there on that. That's absolutely hilarious. Let's keep going now anyway, and we'll try and round it out with a couple of articles, because I have a few now as we move on. I try and do like a little bit of a speed round when it comes to these things. Government, thousands of more visas could be awarded to lower skilled economic migrants. So the likes of your man, by the way, that was there hanging around the gates with the snood on, that's your job going to be taken by someone that's lower skilled, by the way. So well done. You're out there outdoing yourself there on that one. So they're actively telling you, we're going to give more visas to these people. You're giving more visas to people that are going to offer very little. And you've got an awful lot of people here in this country that can offer the same thing, but you don't seem interested. Mad stuff, isn't it? It's not mad stuff, everybody knows. Meta vows to appeal 1.2 billion fine by Irish data watchdog. Facebook parent company Meta also owns WhatsApp, by the way, just letting you know. So if you're on one of those applications that you converse with people and messages, I would suggest you go and find a new one. Because when they tell you that these things are encrypted, they ain't. Facebook parent company Meta has vowed to appeal a record of 1.2 billion fine imposed by the Irish Data Protection Commission for breaches relating to the transfer of data. That's not good, is it? Government approves increased sentences for Garda assaults. The government has approved a proposal by Minister for Justice Simon Harris to increase sentences for assaults on Garda and other emergency service workers. It's coming at a very specific time, isn't it? That's almost a coincidence, isn't it? It's no such thing as a coincidence. You know what the story is here. You know what the gig is here. This is going to work in a number of ways. It's going to work in a way so far as if these people in uniform get rowdy with people and people decide to push back, again, I'm not suggesting or endorsing it or anything like that. I'm disavowing of it. Then that's what they want to utilise that for. It also is going to be another interesting thing when they decide to push the likes of diversity into these type of uniforms. And people rightfully, in my opinion, go, oh no, hang on here for a second. And then they want to say, well, you are actually using sort of behaviour to that person because of what they look like. And then you have your twofold. They'd say, oh, well, you're being abusive and you're also then using hate speech. You see, this is the type of nonsense that these people have on the horizon. It's easy to see. But to me, you got to push back against this and go, hang on here for a second, increase sentences for Garda assault. What about the number of incidents that have happened here in this country to our own people and that you don't seem to investigate? Like I had a couple of people that commented under a video there recently and they were like, yeah, I know what you're talking about these guys. You want to check out what they've been up to in Donegal? And I was like, I haven't looked into Donegal at all. There'll probably be comments at the end of this video. People will be like, oh, you still haven't looked into Donegal. Anyway, all I'm saying is, again, that's allegedly speculative. But when it comes to this stuff here, this is all at the same time as they're calling Irish nationalists and patriots far right. They're trying to demonise people that have legitimate concerns. They're telling you that they're disregarding them, and then they're real interested then in the people in uniforms. Like, it's very obvious. It's very obvious and easy to see. And what they're setting up as well too is they're trying to set up a distancing between people and the people in uniforms. It's a constant thing. And again, like I said, I don't know how people go home, and it's again something that Satirical Soldier said as well, though, you know, I agree with him. How these people in uniform that are upholding this sort of nonsense, like you saw earlier on in Sanctuary, go home and look at the ceiling in the nighttime. I don't know how to go home and look a family in the eyes. I really don't. I honestly mean that. I don't know how these people go home, take the uniform off, feel any sense of pride. Maybe they feel nothing. Maybe they're NPCs. And I've engaged and talked to a couple of NPCs over the last number of months. And I'll tell you what, lads, it's shocking. It's shocking when you talk to a person you do and you go, oh my God, there's actually nothing rattling around that person's brain. Or they're not giving you a response that's in any way cognitive. Like, it's scary. And that's when you see this sort of stuff here. I don't know how these people, and again, like I said to you before, if you know someone that's in that profession and they're overseeing this sort of stuff, have a chat with them. Like, and again, as I said, respectfully, peacefully, say to them, what are you doing? What's going on? Irish Examiner, I'm not sure what that one says now. We'll have to check that one out another day. John Downan, as numbers seeking refuge grow, we must consider all options to accommodate them. You house them so, John. How about that? EU called for independent inquiry into Greece's pushback of asylum seekers. Officials made make formal request to Athens for investigation at the video purports to show people abandoned at sea. So the EU have basically come out and said that they're facilitating this there, just so you know. And remember that poll they did not too long ago as well too, saying you want to out of the EU. That's why. The EU are coming in as the muscle and saying, here, what's going on over there? Europe's two-tier asylum system. Doors open for Ukrainians as others seeking refuge face barriers. Oh. Similar story for asylum seekers in Denmark, Belgium, Germany, and Poland as blue and yellow flag waving people enjoy priority treatment and others sometimes struggle. This is absolutely chaotic. This is where we've pushed them to, by the way. We've pushed them to acknowledge the fact that, it seems like there's way too many people that are not coming with the same complexion as what we see in the blue and yellow flag waving country. Yikes. Well, we're going to have to push down to the back of the queue for the moment because it's becoming way too obvious to people as to what's going on. Yeah, I agree. UNHCR, I'd call for an all-out ban now on anybody coming to the country. That's what I do. We don't have any sort of legal obligation to take anybody now. You know what I mean? Like, that would be what an effective leader would do in this country, effective politicians. And that's what an effective opposition would be doing. They'd be firing a bill after bill going, knock this off, knock this off, knock this off. Bring attention to it. But, you know yourself. UNHCR calls for Ireland to recognise stateless people. Yeah, what? The UN Refugee Agency has called on the government to introduce a new procedure recognising the rights of stateless persons in Ireland. No, you shouldn't. Absolutely not. I'm not even going to entertain that. I'm not even going to entertain that any further. I'm going to say no. Grandad with cancer all over his body, now disease-free without having chemo. Stephen Cousins, 71 from Amersham, Buckinghamshire, thought that's it then when he was diagnosed with a rare type of cancer back in 2016. But is free of the disease. They never named what he took though. He went on a trial with a certain company and he took stuff and is all good now according to this article. But never names what the product was or what the company was called or anything like that. Now you and I both know that when cures for this sort of stuff exist out there, as you and I both know that they do, and the fact that they're being withheld, you are well in the know then as to what we are dealing with here, as to who is ruling this world. Very, very bad people. Very bad people to be withholding that sort of stuff. Move over me. How to make vegetables to start a barbecue. Absolute lunacy here, lads. Absolute lunacy. Next it'll be the zabugs are the ones that you should be sticking on the barbecue. No thanks. The meat's all good there. And the fact you're trying to move people off meat, and especially the fact that it's coming through the Irish Times, doesn't do it for me. And it's more of a red flag. Hey guys, eat meat. Enjoy the barbecue. Put a few spuds on if you want to there, boil them away there. But I'll tell you what, stick an old steak on the barbecue, a few bits of chicken on that, and you're all good there. Enjoy that. I'll be listening to these goose. Absolute nonsense. They want weak and feeble people, by the way. That's what's the plan here. Because as I've talked about beforehand, you need to consume a serious amount of protein from the likes of plants and vegetables to even equal what you would get in the likes of a steak. Irish Water begins search for new Dublin headquarters. Why has this not been decommissioned? Why is this still going? This is nonsense. We live in an island that's surrounded by water that rains most of the year, and these goofs are in existence. We're here needed here because we need to refurbish the pipes. No, you're not. You're not needed. Like 800 workers in the capital. What? Why? Doing what? Nonsense, frivolous fiscal irresponsibility. Total dross. Ian O'Doherty, why can't the nanny state leave the Irish public alone to enjoy a pint in peace? Weird, because your outlet not too long ago was saying that people should be controlled due to the sniffles. Remember that? You seem to forget. They seem to forget this. They think that you have a goldfish brain. Nanny state. Yeah, you're right on a nanny state. You're 100%. You're on the money there. But you all went missing there for the last couple of years because you were sitting at home in your PJs typing out nonsense, calling people far right. Absolute nonsense. We want to let us enjoy a pint. Do you know how much a pint is now? It's gone up to the likes of £6 and £7. Like, it's unsustainable. Pubs losing their reasons. They're like, now it's starting to hit us there. Because of course it is, because people are going to go, well, I used to buy a couple of points. I used to have about 10 points. I'm only buying 5 now because of pricing. You know what I mean? The ordinal course there, Ireland voted for repeal 5 years ago. Where are we now with services? Campaigners told the Journal that recommendations made in a recent review of the legislation must be acted upon swiftly. Disgusting scenes. Look at these people. Look at the cheering going on here. Disgusting. I can't put into words effectively and honestly on this platform, unfortunately, about what I think about these people. I really can't. But you know what I'm thinking, and you feel the same. This is the way these people behaved. Look at the big smirk on this thing here. Look, all of them. Your old typical soy individual there with the hat on, probably a baldy head, the beard and the glasses, and a couple of kilo over the old BMI. Hanging around there. Don't mind me, guys. I'm one of you. I'm totally a feminist also, Like, this is what you're getting here with these people celebrating this and are like, when can we do more outrageous things and have more outrageous measures? It's absolutely criminal, in my view. Emergency Migrant Centre opening at Slaney Manor in Wexford will accommodate up to 213 people. That's a problem. It's a huge problem, lads. Like, you've got a massive issue at hand now when you have this happening all around the place. And like I said, it's encroaching now on country areas. Gardaí and Waterford advised public to protect their homes ahead of summer. What was happening in Waterford there for the last couple of months? Yeah, that's right. Did loads of Waterford asylum seekers articles. That's what they had done. They were posting them all out there. I'm going to do a video on that. I am just to highlight this. We're advising the people to protect their homes ahead of the summer. What was going on there beforehand? You're welcoming people in there, hand over fist into Waterford way. That's a weird one. UN award Sean Rooney posthumous Medal of Honor. Private Sean Rooney, the Irish peacekeeper who passed in Lebanon last December, has been honoured at the United Nations headquarters in New York. Uniformed Gardaí to patrol Disneyland this summer, might as well, because they're taking the mickey. You know what I mean? They're about as... I'd probably be delighted. Do you know what the sad thing is, lads? Right, there'll be people that be going on that trip, rubbing their hands together, going, "Oh, lads, I can't wait for this one. This is gonna be great." They go, "Oh, look at John O going around there now, the old goofy hat in him there. Oh, look at him, yeah, it's great. I'm fair play now. Simon Harris, great fella." Like, that's the type of goof that you're gonna have going on these type of things. Like, but listen to me when I say this. Excuse me, Disneyland is in France. It follows a successful scheme in Normandy last year. Why? Now, does that not ring a bit of an alarm bell in your head? Because it does to me. Why are police being accepted in a foreign country from a foreign country? Like, imagine being French going over there and you're looking around and you're going, what's this fella coming over there now? Here, no, lads, don't be at that. and you're looking and you're going, well, je suis français, je parle français aussi. And this guy over here, he don't speak the lingo. Like, so what's going on? Like, why am I beholden to this person here? I sure know, like, are you going for a few spuds or a few scoops tonight? Like, what's happening? Do you know what I'm saying? This is all part of the market, and I'm guaranteeing you in the next couple of years to do the same here. Guys, we have a couple of the Spanish police, and they're patrolling around Cardiff McCross. And don't worry about that, guys. It's just a pilot's game. Why? Why is that happening? That's not a good idea. This is a terrible idea. Organised crime plays a role in anti-migrant activity, says Garda Commissioner. Ha, 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 ha. Absolute nonsense. Drew Harris faced sustained questioning from oversight body of the Garda's alleged softly approach to policing anti-immigration protests. That seems to me like it's calling for very out there stuff, lads. This is antagonising people, and it's antagonising and it's asking for very extreme measures here. That's out of bounds. That's absolutely out of bounds. Articles like these are out of bounds. And I think that these type of questions and the way that they're posing them towards us are completely unfounded. They're absolutely disgusting, they're reprehensible, and there's no journalistic integrity being shown here at all. Instead, there's an increasing, and I'm telling you, I see it online all the time, there's an increasing rhetoric from the left of, oh my God, you guys, you're protecting these people. No, they're not. No, they're not. They're doing their duty at the time, which is they're supposed to just stand and observe. But what you people want is you want people physically assaulted because they hold a different belief to you. You are the tyrants that you claim to be against. You are the dictators that you claim to be against. These people are all too stupid. Now, maybe some of them aren't too stupid, but they are stupid because they don't understand that the very thing that they are calling other people, you hear these people calling people fascists. It's like, what is the meaning of the word fascist? Do you know what the meaning of the word fascist is? Do you know what the meaning of the word tyrant or tyrannical is? Do you know what the meaning of the word authoritarian is? Because I'll tell you what, if you did know the meaning of those words, you'd soon find out that you're actually on that side, and this is the side of freedom. This is what this side's all about. It's all about freedom. Now, freedom, of course, as I said, with sensibility, which is in your own country, you should have the absolute ability to go, hang on here for a second. I don't want there should be borders here. But when you have these people going, oh no, well that's equivalent there to not letting people in, and that's not equal to freedom. No, that's absolute nonsense. Tell you what, if you feel that way, why don't you leave your house unlocked? Keep your doors open and all that and everything, and just leave it unlocked all the time. How about you do that 24/7? All right, do that and see how you get on. If you want to talk about freedom, if you want to talk about freedom, if you want to talk about like that, go with it like that. So this sort of nonsense that's becoming more increasing, by the way, of you're treating them with kid gloves is too soft and like that. There are people now, and it was there last week as well, online, where people were calling for people to be banned, to be assaulted, to be attacked. Now I'm guaranteeing you that it's the last thing that you would want to do if you're in the uniform, because what will happen is that imagery and those videos will go up and they will go viral. And what will happen is people will realize at that point in time, like they did when it came to the sniffles, hey guys, the Gardaí are after wading into people there with batons and shields because Tony Holohan drove through the city, tweeted out that he was unhappy with him. He should still be in prison. I mean, he should be actually in prison. He's still flaunting around the place. He tweeted out that he was unhappy with people socialising in the city centre. And do you remember that? Gardaí were walking around in riot gear to protect you from the sniffles. So to think that these people won't do this sort of nonsense in the future, again, there's history to this. Hey, this nonsense, the renamed flu style lockdowns to be imposed on the UK by who under new treaty? GB News are ahead of the curve. You know the story is here. The introduction of the treaty could see passports and border closures imposed. Bad news, that's bad news. Christian curriculum using textbooks that deny climate change and say evolution is impossible. Based. A Christian curriculum used by at least 11 schools rubbishes the theory of evolution and denies climate change. Who's peddling this as being wrong? Sky News? Oh, all right. Well, this climate change stuff as well, by the way, guys, it's just getting out of hand because you've got people there that are telling you to just stop oil and then are then deciding to destroy, or attempt to destroy anyway, priceless pieces of art. They're able to walk through museums with all of the materials that they have unchecked in bright orange t-shirts. So it's not like they're not drawing attention to themselves, but they're out to do that. That's a bit weird, isn't it? It's almost like that's there for a photo op and to get people's attention. But do you know what's happened? Nobody gives a fit the weather and what these people are saying. What keeps happening with these people? They keep buying beachfront property, don't they? Wasn't it not Leo Varadkar that bought in an area there that was it Dublin Live or Love in Dublin or some kip like this again, allegedly, speculatively put out an article and said that'll actually be underwater in 15 years. Well, then, are you calling Leo Varadkar a stupid person, or are you saying that he's going to be living like an Atlantean in the next 15 years? Like, what's the story with that? You saying he's going to go scuba diving in the gaff? Like, what's happening there? Any update on that one? What about when Greta tweeted in 2018 how things were going to be all falling to pot by 2022, and that didn't happen, and then she deleted that tweet? What about the decades since my dad was in school, and I'm sure before him, the decades that he was told, hey, this is going to happen, and then it didn't happen? How about the fact now that they don't want to talk about the polar ice caps? Remember, they were all talking about that in the 90s. Oh, the polar ice caps are melting. Oh my God, the place would be underwater. Oh, that didn't happen. As a matter of fact, actually, what happened was those actually regenerated, weirdly enough. Remember, they were telling you about, oh my God, the polar bears going extinct. They went awfully quiet about that one there recently too, didn't they? That doesn't seem to have happened either. So they seem to be wrong about an awful lot here. And then it's still trust us, bro. Whereas I think these people have the right way of looking at it, and it's like, well, you've got no control over it. You know, you can pray to God. Paying more taxes isn't going to fix the weather. Definitely not going to fix the weather. And eating less meat's not going to fix the weather or anything like that either. You know, these people want to spoof out of them. But again, like I said, fair play to them for doing this. They might as well, because at this stage of the game, why not? Pressure building to get employees back to the office more of the time. That's hilarious. Employers and workers are wrestling to put shape on a form of hybrid working that is acceptable to both. I know people that just work from home, and I'm like, that is absolutely mental. That is absolutely crazy to think that you're just sitting at home all of the time. And again, like, are you being supplemented for that? Are you getting paid for that in terms of, like, what about your electricity and your heating? About your internet? Are you being supplemented for that at all? And a lot of these people go, oh no. And I'm like, well, force fail you there, because those people are earning a mint. And now we've got employers that are like, oh, now we need to get people back. How do we do that? You've given them a cushy lifestyle, and now it's going to be difficult to get people to go back to these places. Some of them now are starting to just threaten people. They're like, you're going to lose your job if you don't come back. Cancer doctors accuse insurers of denying patients access to new drugs. So here we go, lads. This is the beginning of it as well too, because this is going to be an even bigger fallout as well. People are going to be like, hey guys, by the way, and something I mentioned earlier on, health insurers, Irish Life and Naya Healthcare are hiding behind the lengthy approval process for treatments, saying oncologist Professor Ray McDermott and Professor John, can't see the second name there. So that's a very interesting thing to see. And it also then specifies and shows you then what these insurers are up to, doesn't it? So, as many people would suggest, a lot of these insurance things seem, according to a lot of people, allegedly speculatively, that they seem scammy, don't they? So, fair play to the doctors that are stepping up and talking about this, because again, it's important that these things are, and these conversations are had. They refused cover for new therapies for more than 20 cancer patients last year. This is a huge scandal. Like, should this not be one of the biggest scandals that you see as well? Like, so the cervical checking on that, does this not all factor in? You see, Ireland has the third highest cancer rate in the world. This little island, third highest cancer rate in the world. Doesn't seem to be any interest in getting to the bottom of that, though. Irish Cancer Society calls for a re-examination of whole system of drug reimbursement. These people should be jumping up and down altogether. Where's the movement about this? Like, there's 3 articles I showed you tonight with relation to cancer, and that's not even talking about the excess and the amount of cancer that's running around the place now, because people went undiagnosed because people were more afraid of the sniffles, and certain treatments were shut down due to the sniffles. Like, people no longer with us now due to that. And whatever you might think about it, my view was the cancer was way more important than anything. Like, you hear about that girl, Sarah Harden, wasn't that her name? Sarah Harden as well was like, I was too afraid to go to an appointment about it because, the sniffles. And I was like, holy moly. Like, that's where you were at. That's the type of fear that they put into people. State may face damages claims over unlawful data gathering from public services cards. That's about to be an interesting one as well, lads. The Department of Social Protection was found to have improperly gathered data through the controversial card. Who does that not shock? Doesn't shock me. It doesn't shock you. Your eyes are open to this. Increase in excise duty on fuel takes effect. A rise in the cost of petrol and diesel took effect from midnight as cuts to government excise charges began to reverse. So they blamed, by the way, not too long ago, the blue and yellow flag waving country for as to why these things are more expensive. Now they just decided we'll just put the prices up. So after the price dropped somewhat, they've now decided to put it up again. Anyway, Air New Zealand to weigh passengers before flight. Now, this might seem to you like you might say that's a Waterford Whispers article, Ninja. It's not. It's actually from News Talk. Air New Zealand is to begin weighing international passengers before they fly, the airline has announced. Now, New Zealand, like us, New Zealand went off the boil more so, but these people stepped fully into tyranny for the last couple of years. No problem, right? They complied with it. And they are at this now. This is going to become widespread. And they're going to try and link this in with, oh, you're eating this too much, it's to do with the climate and all that. They are gaining this nonsense. I always say to people in the airports, because you always have some dipstick behind the desk. They go, your bag is too heavy. And you go, okay, I'll move a few bits around. And you do. And they're like, okay, the bag isn't heavy now anymore. And you're like, but the same amount of weight still going on the plane, it's just in different areas now. And they're like, yeah. And you have to look at them and you're going, you don't see the logic in that at all, sure you don't. And these people that are just NPCs are just looking at you going, yes, sir, thank you very much. New Zealand, what are you doing? And a permission granted for 852 new homes on site of former Central Mental Hospital. I'd suggest that you should reopen the hospital, to be honest with you, and start housing people there appropriately. That's what I suggest. Anyway, women politicians to meet with minister after he warned of practical implications of maternity leave. Roderick government decided to bring standalone bill forward due to complexity of proposals around leave for TDs and senators. Oh, lads, that's hilarious. That's absolutely hilarious. Legislation could add up to 35,000 to house prices. Representatives of the construction and housing sector have warned that plans to introduce a land value sharing charge will curtail housing delivery and increase. 25 grand, like that. Not as if it's nothing. Shocking, isn't it? Disgusting what they're allowed to get away with. Reform bill to abolish 3-day waiting period past the second stage in DOS. That's what I was talking about earlier on. Barrister Maria O'Shea, who conducted a review of the state's law, is questioned about her recommendations at Oireachtas Committee. This is disgusting stuff that's happening in front of your very eyes, lads. It really is. People that you wouldn't get up on to get over a wall here dictating that this is a good thing and pontificating that this is a good thing. It's absolutely horrific. Horrific this is. What a sad, sad day in Irish history. That was an absolutely extremely sad day in Irish history, and this is set to be another one. Disgusting. Asylum seeker takes High Court challenge over state's refusal to provide accommodation. Court heard one woman was refused place to stay because she left the Irish Protection Office before a taxi arrived to take her to where she would be accommodated. Send her on home to wherever she came from. So, Philip Schofield snaps down from this morning the statement in full and Holly Wilbury's response. This is about to be an interesting one, lads. I'm telling you now, you're not prepared for what's going to happen from here on out. They're going to try and quietly sneak this out and be like, all right, it was up to no good. And it should be sung from the rooftops. Here's another one. They're like, his brother was up to no good. Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? Just the brother. Elaine Loughlin, Harris lays down a marker as he hones in on the top job. Now, this, to me, lads, is wild stuff. The political ambitions of the double job of minister have been far from secret for some time, but his performance this week comes at an interesting juncture. They're actually talking about as if this fella could be Taoiseach.
Hi, guys. Simon Harris here. I'm Taoiseach of Ireland.
You have had two of the most goofy individuals that have ever been a Taoiseach here in this country rotate. How beta is that? Rotate. And then they're lining this guy up as if he's going to be the next one in. Madness, isn't it? And everyone seems to forget, by the way, about Simon Coveney. Simon Coveney just hanging around the background there. Don't forget about him. Roderick governments reported to SIPO over use of historic Royval House for asylum seekers. A Kildare Residents Association has reported Roderick government to the Standards in Public Office Commission. Brilliant. That's a brilliant idea. over his award of a contract to a company to house asylum seekers. That's an awesome idea, because what you're doing is you're using their own situations against them, and then you're going to expose them, if nothing comes of it, how ridiculous these things are and how ineffective they are, and people start getting more awake to what's going on. Good moves, well done. That was the one I was talking about. Sinn Féin's likes were low. Too many being sent to jail for minor offences, says Harris. And I said that little gremlin just voted for a hate speech law. So
Guys, there's too many people going to jail for minor offences.
what about people there that saying things that you don't like online? Define hate, by the way. What do you mean by hate? What are you talking about? Can you give a specific example?
We're going to either fine or imprison you for something that you said, and it could be perceived very not.
What are you talking about? Nonsense. These companies hit with new patent lawsuits over this sort of stuff, so more funny things to come out now from this place, which is going to be exciting to see. This is an overview. This is a reason as well too for a rise in power. This group are a very bad group, obviously, as you know. Environmentalism, as you can see here, ruining the environment, the cows on the farm. The good one, Gab is brilliant over there for that. Utah received a very nasty threat there. TikTok pranks are Mizzy charged with breaching social media video banning order. Bad idea. Clondalkin as well too. We gave a good shout there. Launch of 82 new high-spec homes starting from 560 grand. As to Delgany's reputation as lifestyle destination. This was talked about earlier on. Over $500,000 for a semi-detached gaff. And isn't it funny how these houses are all built the same? And what's usually wall-to-wall in these places? Well, you guessed it. People have just come into the place. Proposed UK laws are labelling refugees as criminals, says European report. Council of Europe Committee warns new legislation risks of breaching internal convention rights and the rule of law. Oh, yeah? Activists accused of driving into anti-immigration protests wants jury trial. This fella was pictured down in a pear street, by the way. Is that not breaking his bail conditions? Was that not the idea? In a serious country, I said he'd be in prison awaiting trial. I mean, Enoch Borg there was sitting in jail for 3 months. This fella was driving through people and he's out wandering around on that pear street there. Meanstar hit out a GAA set to ban fans, trophies, medals, and prizes for under 12s. The OGAA men would want to wise up and speak up together. Fair play to them there for talking about that, because in Tanya it's going out. Protests outside refugee accommodating go against our culture, says Radgar. I said, who's this hour? You're Indian. You've made it as abundantly clear as possible as well too when it comes to these things, because you wanted to commemorate the Black and Tans. County Wexford boy is the only person to make his fourth communion in the school this year. That's sad. That's actually sad, lads. You've got another PBP individual running around there. Pear Street was absolutely escorted out of the place. Great to see. Got this here. This was the Sinn Féin video that I did during the week as well. Angus Osnodic method to cut almost 500 jobs out of its Irish operation, and the reason for that is because they are facing a big bill to be paid, allegedly, speculatively, positively. Nah, it's probably not. Now you know yourself. Or in Jones' global effort to cut agricultural methane. Nonsense. There's another fella as well too that ran around, was talking years ago. Oh, you don't need to worry about these things. You're just going to run around, going around in private jets. No, that's funny, that isn't it? Oh, they'd be worried about the weather, Rally against hate takes place in Navan. This is something I just noticed from the video, by the way. There was no foreigners interviewed, and only seemed to be one foreigner pictured amongst the crowd. Now, Navan, as you know, is a very diverse area. It's got a very significant African population. There didn't seem to be any Africans in this. That's a weird one, isn't it? Strange, that one. Gang sophisticated network working into Ireland uncovered from encrypted chats. Super stuff. That there's again, I'm saying that sarcastically, by the way. I'm not supporting and endorsing that, just as you know. But good to know that these things are being found out, as you know. Inch migrant blockade. I heard a woman shouting, "We won't want them here." It was not subtle. Good. That's the point. 6 things League of Shadows is responsible for in the Dark Knight trilogy. Ultimately, the heroes of the story. Some of the things that he says in that, I'm telling you now, Liam Neeson's Ra's al Ghul. You go and look at those movies again, and I'm like, there's a lot there. There was a lot in those movies that were very good. And of course, excuse me, sneezing there on stream. That's absolutely shocking. And there was a lot of stuff that was said between himself, the Joker, and Bane. And I was like, Christopher Nolan was widely lauded as a genius, and rightfully so, because he was absolutely spot on. Do you know what I forgot to do at the start of this, by the way, guys? I forgot to say to people at Ninja Night in the chat. So I'm going to try and go through this now as fast as possible and see what's going on in the chat. The chat's been busy tonight. There's about 140 people in here tonight. Thanks very much for joining on a Thursday. Appreciate that. That's good going, especially going at this time, 10 to 11. Well, it's 20 past 11 now. A lot of people for work tomorrow morning to be like, Ninja, I'm a bit too late now. Wrap her up soon. I'm wrapping her up soon. Don't worry. It's all good. And I'm trying to get back now in the chat. Okay, so what I'll do is actually, it might actually be more easy for me to do it like this. Go through it on this here. Give me a minute, guys. 1 second. Okay, so we've got Leanne Curtis in here as well too. Says hello. We've got Eddie Green in here as well, and we've got X Late TVs in here. Sean Max in here as well too. The nonsense you're told in school, absolutely. Jason Irish Red is in here. Greta Thunberg, you stole my childhood. What does she know about a childhood that's been taken? Yeah, absolutely. You see the lads that are at the bin mining for the likes of the lithium and all. That's not been good news. Sheepdog says, anyone know where I can go get my new jabroni? I think I really need a booster. It's so important, don't you know? Protect all. Yeah, you need your 6th and 7th one, maybe even an 8th one. A lot of people commenting in the chat there as well. In fairness to them, everyone knows what the story is here. Sheepdog says, lads, just share it to at least one person and get the numbers up. Much appreciated on that one. Woke GAA, people are saying in the chat as well too. A lot of people chatting about Bedford as well. Larger Phoenix says, Ninja Night, great work, man. God bless everyone on here. I'm off to decompress. Lol, thanks, D. Derek Manson here says, like, share, and subscribe. Great seeing here. Allegedly, spectively says CST. Chris Quirk says, Ninja Night sniffling. Run. Yeah. All's good here it is, though. All's good here. That was just one sneeze it was. Don't be worrying about me. We're not having a problem or anything like that here. Everything's good. Let's just swing past the chat and just make sure that I'm catching up with it an awful lot. That's the one thing I will say about this StreamYard, and it's just to be a little bit more, it's just a little bit more, I suppose, transparent with people, letting people know. Because if you ever decide to set up your own streams or anything like that yourself, like this StreamYard one doesn't let you see when someone's like at Ninja Night, which would be very helpful. It does on YouTube, but if I had the YouTube app open at the same time, what it does is it dramatically slows the connection. It does, and it's really frustrating. Then obviously it is for me and then for you, because the stream then halts. And I've been having that with Twitter as well recently as well, when I've been trying to put that online on here and showing people videos. Like I was going to show the video earlier on. I have it on Instagram, I do, obviously, but I always like to point people in that direction. And so far as the Irish Inquiry that are over there, like their video that's there is phenomenal from today. And I was going to put it up earlier on, but I was just like, just want to get through the time as much as possible and let people know what's going on. Frank Barnes says that the Mar lad, the NFL player that fell and had to go to the hospital, and asked why he fell, he responded by saying, if I answered that question, it could be a problem. A lot of people were saying at the time, oh, your man jumped into his chest, and I'm like, he's wearing pants. Like that happens weekly, it does in the GAA, and not such an issue like that ever again. And the fact that they had to come out straight away and they were like, it's not to do with that. I was like, Eric Ellis says, Ninja Night, don't forget the referendum in 2004 on birthright citizenship. It was a resounding no vote. Yep, absolutely resounding no here. We've got, do you want hearts? Well, here you are, Ninja. Here's a few from us. Appreciate that one. Darcy says, I forgot about Shane Warne, Australian cricketer. See, that's what they do. They try to move it along as quick as possible. We've got Kevin Coyle in here. Quavian says, I'm all good, folks. It's not my area. Talk. If I'm all good, folks, this is not my area. Talk annoys me. We're all Irish. We're all in this together. Quavian, if that's the same dude that's on Twitter, this guy is a meme machine. You want to see some of the memes that this guy puts up? It's absolutely brilliant. It's chef's kiss. Absolutely phenomenal. Was kept overnight, banned from SEAC and Clondalkin Village, back up in court 2 weeks. I don't know if it's the same guy now. I'm not sure. Oh no, that's the dude. This guy lifted up the window wiper and checked the tax disc on the van of the Gardaí van. So there was a video that came out there last week, and at Clondalkin, there was a lad going around and was talking about the Gardaí smirking at him and stuff like that. And then he was like, "Is your tax up to date on your van?" Which was hilarious. And he lifted the window wiper and was checking the tax, and they all just ran for him. They were like, "Urgh!" They were like something else, South Park running after him, and they were lifting. He was like, "I'm only looking." Like, which is fair enough, you know what I mean? You've seen the lads in the uniforms, in my opinion, very roughly handling Simeon Burke and Amy Burke or Amy Burke, whatever way you want to pronounce it. Like, very roughly handling these people, and yet they took very big umbrage with a fella lifting the window wiper. Like, you gotta look at that and you gotta say that's absolute nonsense. You know what I mean? You gotta look at that as a response and say that's a joke. Anyway, yeah, keep going. A big shout out, obviously, to Quavian on Twitter as well too. Like, this guy puts out great stuff. He does the memes. The memes are absolute bangers there. I love them. Point Man's in here. It says Ninja Knight delivering truth on Thursday. Happy days. Good to see you in here. Max said Simon Harris sounds like he's taking a bit of helium. More than that, I'd say. Ron Malone says Holly Cairns, Ivana Bakic, Harris are all speak the same way, also use the same language. Yep, very much so. And a lot of them as well obviously have the same type of get out of conversation cues as well. Like Ryan Tubby there recently, did you see that video of him that was out there and people were like, "Hey Ryan, how come you're not reporting any of that?" He just walked away, didn't even acknowledge it. So that to me seems trained. Jason Nice Red says Ninja Knight, I think Vinicius also said that Spain was a racist country. He's still playing there though, he's not leaving anytime soon. Funny that one, isn't it? Brazil is Sean Max says Brazil is extremely istafab. Laughable. A Brazilian of African descent can claim Spain is istafab. Torres 74 was waiting at the GPO last week for a friend. It was the fourth time I've ever felt out of place in my own country. A very bizarre feeling. Sad feeling, isn't it? Actually shocking there is, and they're looking to demoralise you. That's the thing. But I think the most important thing is that people stand together and like that. That's panicking these people in the media and the government when they're standing, when people at large are saying, "Nah, these people are not welcome here. We don't want any of them around the area." Brown Reedy says, Ninja Knight, how much more do you need for your refugee welcome t-shirts? You'd never get me to wear one of those, I can tell you that one anyway. Welcome. There's people out there that were like, you should put up an old refugee unwelcome t-shirt. Nice noise rest in Ninja Knight. The alphabet group will always use their victim and minority status to force society to change into whatever they want. But see, they have been, and they know themselves now as well too, the genuine people that are there, they know that that's been infiltrated now and that it's not what they thought it was. It's like people that think that entertainment companies are going to come back, and I'm like, they're not. I was like, let's Star Wars now, for example, needs to be bought over by an entirely new company and started back up again. Like, it's not, there's no saving it underneath Disney. There's just not, you know. Yeah, that's what this is a talk for another day, but we talk about Schofield here in the chat. People are wide to what's going on there. That's good. Sheepdog says, good evening, Ninja Knight, and chat. Comes in at 10:30. Much appreciated. Good to see you here. Leon Court says, hi and good evening, Ninja Knight, and all. Sorry, I'm on Saturday. Hope everyone's well and having a blessed day. The month of June, the most sacred heart of our Lord and Saviour. Absolutely. I know this was a late stream and it was dropped on people as well, by the way. I know that, and I appreciate people showing up here in the numbers that you showed up in. That's amazing. I really appreciate that. You know what I mean? Really appreciate the people turning up here tonight, and obviously the people that look after the fact. Highly, highly appreciate that. Keep going. Yeah, people talking about Balenciaga as well too in the chat. You're absolutely right. Nice Red says, Ninja Knight, did you see the video of the man in America who took away that certain flag and said he was ashamed to be represented by it? Yeah, because they're getting wide to it too. Yeah, that's what they are doing. Cheat Dog says it was a famine Ninja Knight, and that's all. And should Paddy get with the program like? Yeah, and again, that's something that they are trying to trivialize too and say, oh, you know, on account of those type of times that you have a reason to be repaying that. Well, guess what? My ancestors didn't live, you know. My ancestors died, so and so did yours. So this whole nonsense of trying to use that instance of why you should be housing the entire world and looking at property be unattainable for you and future generations. No, I'm not going to buy into that there at all. You only have one country. Ellie Green says, I hit off the send button trying to tell people about the WHO treaty already signed. I'm going to kick in 6 months unless their TikTok object. These losers not having a good time in there. Sheepdog says, I bet the media watching it tonight to read the audience and wonder how to keep their jobs. I don't think so. I don't think the media's one up here. I would doubt it. You know, I would doubt that. I probably would say that they've probably looked at a couple of different videos and they're like, don't know what to do. Don't know what to do with this guy. CST says, oh, Ninja, you have a great gig. It's infectious. Thanks very much. Much appreciated. But I'd say that you might have a couple of people that tune in and are looking from the outside. But I've had a couple of recent ones that I was sharing with a couple of the lads, a couple of recent blocks that have been made on me from some prolific accounts. And I was like, well, that's interesting to see that now. But it's because of the mockery. It's mockery is not tolerated by these people. You don't understand having a laugh and you don't understand being mocked. You don't like it. So that's why mockery is important. It's very effective. Let's keep going here along the chat there. Beckoff says, Ninja Knight, is there any chance you could ask the 145 in the chat to meet at the Department of Justice on St. Stephen's Green soon, so morning, to challenge the secret sign of the migration pact? We'll look into that one a little bit more. I will, for sure, and I'll let people know the story is of that. Sugar Lump says, send them all to Disneyland, idiots. Oh yeah, there's another one. I just seen that in the chat there about the float tail. I think I talked about that a couple of weeks ago. We're going to set up a hotel that actually floats, float them on off back to wherever they came from. So there, and you know what I mean. Drive it off there in the night there, lad. So Dub says, Ninja Night, are you moving to Thursday nights now, Ninja? No, I'm still on the Fridays. It's just that I'm not available tomorrow. So I just said, look, I'll do it tonight. I will. And then everyone then gets to see it on Friday if they want to just check it out then themselves. Because obviously Thursday probably doesn't suit some people. Chris Quirk says, hope Ninja Knight moves somewhere. Jason Nightshred says, Ninja Knight, that angry teenage girl from Sweden who didn't want to go to school, is responsible for this crime and stuff. Well, yeah, as an actor, these people are used as actors and entertainers. Don't forget that. Like, there's a reason why these people are pushed and they're given certain lines to say that become repeated, and then it's quotation, quotation central. It's like the media can't understand. They don't understand why the two Avatar movies, for example, are popular. They're like, it's had no cultural impact. We can't, like, there's been a number of good lines that are in Avatar. I'll admit that. There are very good lines that are in there. But I tell you what, like, they're not on t-shirts running around the place. Do you know what I mean? It's not like Darth Vader levels of I am your father or anything like that, or some other types of, I suppose, quotes from, like, say, like, of Optimus Prime, like, freedom is the right of all sentient beings or anything like that. There's nothing like that in them. There are lines there, but the company isn't pushing any of it. You know what I mean? Like, which is interesting. And that freaks the media out. They're like, that's an organic, shall we say, that's an organic fan base there that keeps showing up and creating these behemoths of movies because people like what's been shown to them. And some of it is very basic. Like, I mean, the first movie is just Dances with Wolves. Isn't it really? Dances with Wolves in space. And people liked it. So they don't know what to do because they're like, well, it's had no cultural impact. But has it not, though? Because it's made other films look really silly with the fact that the effects are so good. And not only that, then of course, it's promoting a good story. Promoting a good story about the nuclear family, and in particular, like, they lauded up and they talked nonsense when this movie came out, and they said, oh my god, the women take more of a front role in it, and you're like, it's not, that's a silly comment that it is, because it's still Jake Sully is still the most important character in it. He's defending the family. Do you know what I mean? So they still play the game. They all play the game. Nick O'Keefe says, good stuff as always, Ninja. Keep up the good work. Thanks very much. Much appreciated, guys. Good to see you here. And that is it. I'm not caught up with the chat now. I really appreciate that there, guys. All right, so look after yourselves. Have a good weekend. We'll talk to you soon. We'll drop more videos. Enjoy yourselves. And as always, talk soon. Look.